Zlurpcast!
Coming from a NAF legend such as myself, you know the game of Blood Bowl, the real fantasy football. I'm not talking about picking players and stats. No, fantasy football. Orcs, dwarves, elves, humans, I guess, if you're one of those people. We have a lot to talk about regarding the game of Blood Bowl. This is how all of us, if you really trace it all back, came together. Even Biran, even though he's not part of the Blood Bowl crew, it still is all connected. And we're going to cover everything. This is probably going to be a 2-hour episode. So take a piss, take a shit, grab your favorite beverage, pause, discuss with your class, whatever you want to do, feel free. For a lot of people, this is the only episode of this show that you're going to watch. So for that, I thank you. If you want to try out other ones, you probably should. There's plenty of other game reviews that we've done and plenty of other tabletop game topics. Building a gaming club, attending cons, designing your own game, all that kind of stuff is covered as well. So if you're watching this the first time because it's Blood Bowl, you're like, hey, those guys did a Blood Bowl thing along. Thanks for giving it one more shot in the year 2020. What else could go wrong this year? You know, we kicked off Zlurpcast TV and all this other bullshit happens as well. So, I mean, kind of all goes together. To my left is Biran.
Nope, that's Mike.
That is Mike.
Yep.
That's probably Biran here.
No,
No,
it's Xtreme.
it was one or the other. And Biran is kitty corner there.
The other side.
No, whatever. So
Everyone, before this starts, place your bets how many pee breaks Mike's going to need.
Oh, I'm feeling it already.
I might need one too because crippling diabetes.
well, and
And
Mike
I mean candy.
Mike's in his Blood Bowl form. He's got his big jug, and he's ready to go. And that's how you know that game is on for Mr. Valdric. So, Xtreme, I want to actually turn things over to you to start. And the reason why is, on our chat earlier, you said we should have some structure to this. How do you want this to lay out? Have you thought about it in your road trip you just came from? You were thinking about it, I know.
I felt like we needed some structure because I feel like we all have a lot to say. Well, at least 3 of us have a lot to say because there's a big part of what we did. The other person, I think, I already know what they're going to say. But so maybe we should just break it into as brief as possible, our history with the game, and then we can go from there into the game. So if we want to start with our history of the game, and then we can talk about, we're not going to break down Blood Bowl, I don't think. Because anyone watching this probably already knows it really hasn't changed a whole lot since '94. So,
I mean,
Boy, has it shown.
and we'll talk about how, I think some rules are going to come up, but yeah, this is not a how to play the game episode. This is a lot of history there, and our take on where it started, where it was, where it is now, where we are now with it. It will probably be the focus of this one.
so do we want to run through each of our histories with the game? I think a lot of, well, not everybody. I guess you should always have the Stan Lee rule of introducing everything every issue. So people may not know how into Blood Bowl we all are.
Sounds good. Are we all lagging, or is it only Xtreme on the lag?
It seems like it's Xtreme.
Okay. Xtreme, don't ever move, be a statue, and then we won't even know if there's a lag.
Okay.
Okay. I'll kick it off. Blood Bowl was the first miniatures game I ever played. Going from board games to strategy board games to my brother Dean saying, check this out, it's football. And at the same time, we were playing Mutant League football on Sega Genesis. And so it was kind of a weird, like, we already were used to non-humans playing football, and it was an easy way to lead into it. I got one of my good friends in school, I think probably freshman year, I think it's either junior high or freshman year is probably when we played our first game. And it was out of the box, the old second edition box. I played the Dwarf Giants. It's in quotes because they were the human models, but with the Dwarf Giants touchdown end zone marker because we didn't have any models then. We go to Gamers Paradise in Villa Park, Illinois, and I buy an elf team, my buddy buys a dwarf team, Dean buys a Skaven team, and his buddy buys a dark elf team. And then we form a league. From there, year after year after year, we played in Blood Bowl leagues. When we kind of got a little tired of leagues, we started doing tournaments. And tournaments is where I met Mike through leagues, but Brian Xtreme through tournaments, because a tournament means you're leaving your comfort zone, much like our game club episode. You're leaving your comfort zone, going to a new place where, whether it's a store or a school we've played in or whatever, it's out of your comfort zone. You see people like, hey, wait a minute, they're not turning their guys when they're done. Well, that's not a rule. That's our way. And then you start to get used to the way other people play things. That was the first time going to a tournament, by the way. I don't think I even told you guys that I saw the game played end zone to end zone. All those leagues we played for years, we always played it long ways, just because I think there was a picture in a white dwarf that showed long ways. And it was like, that's just how it goes.
You mean sideways?
Sideways.
Right?
Sorry, sideways. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That's horrible.
So we didn't know any better. And I will say this, I should have known better, because there was one game where I actually ran the wrong way. I don't know what happened.
We played the Minnesota Vikings?
There's that, remember that old commercial, I think it was for Lemonheads? The kid catches the football, he runs the wrong way, and he's like, yeah, touchdown. It's like, you Lemonhead, you ran the wrong way.
Oh.
Yeah, and we had guys all over the field. So, I don't want to justify me being stupid, but so going to a tournament, I learned some things. I learned some better tactics. I learned how other ways to have fun. And so it was just really interesting. And I guess that kind of leads to present day of letting tournaments. I think 2012 or 2013, I was looking at the NAF site, I probably hit 12 or 13 tournaments that year. And then it was a steady decline after that. And then my last Blood Bowl tournament was before I moved. Jeff Rowe ran one at Grognard in March 2018. Even that was me coming out of retirement just to do that, and I haven't done one since. I did play a game a few days ago, and we'll talk about that, but that's kind of where my history was from beginning to end. So
when you said, like, it's not the rule that you turn your dudes after they've acted, how do people keep track if they didn't do that?
They don't. Some people just didn't do it.
That's madness.
No one told us to do it. There was no, so let's look back to leagues in the 90s. There was the internet, but it wasn't really the internet as we know it. So we just basically did our own thing, whatever made sense. We wrote newsletters. We had the star players we created. We had bounties we put on guys. We didn't know what was right or wrong. We just figured, wouldn't it make sense to do that? And then some people go all the way. I like to do just a half, so that way they don't look as reverse. But I would imagine some people are putting little markers by them, and some people just don't do it. And I remember in one of my first tournaments, someone's like, no, I'll remember. I said, okay, but the moment this happens one time throughout this, then you have to do it. If you forget, so okay. And at a certain point, he's like, did I move him? I go, don't ask me. And he then turned his players, like, okay. I was like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I knew it was going to happen at some point. So that was just one example of seeing how other people do things. And we would have never noticed any of that until we jumped into the tournament scene. All we would know is playing in our basement, playing a league, bringing a few people in. That was it. And so tournaments, I think it was a great thing for me and my at the time love of the game of Blood Bowl, because it allowed me to take everything to the next level and get experience with all kinds of different teams, travel around the Midwest. Who would think I'd be traveling around playing in a game tournament? And that happened. And I met a lot of great people. And so we created Zlurpcast from it. So I think we'll talk about all that too, but it is the starting point. There's no other game that I could think of that's even close to Blood Bowl as far as what kicked off all these other events in my life. So Mike, we'll get to Mike, because he's got even a better story about life merging with Blood Bowl. But that's just, there's so much history there. How do you deny that? That's kind of where we're at now. I don't really want to play in a tournament right now. Probably wouldn't play in a league right now, but I'm glad I did all those things the last 20 years of my life. Who next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
So it was essentially my first miniature game, my first game of any kind, but there was like a 2-week period before Blood Bowl that I was playing 40K. There was a gaming club at school that was 40K gaming club, and I started playing that for 2 weeks. I only owned like one squad of miniatures, and then I was reading through White Dwarf, saw Blood Bowl, sold those miniatures, went and bought Blood Bowl, and from there, Blood Bowl was all I played. That was from about 94. I don't know. Then everyone I played, we were playing like little house leagues, but it was always everyone that I introduced to the game. I supplied all the models for it. Like they just showed up and played. I provided everything.
Did you play at school?
After school, it was like an after school.
Okay, just wondering. Like that's pretty cool. We never had any kind of clubs like that
No.
for any games.
But there was a shop teacher that disguised it as a industrial technology club, but it was really an excuse for kids to paint his 4K armies for him.
Yeah.
Because he assembly lined like 30 kids. So I remember I painted Gene Steeler coons for 2 hours. Just tongue.
There is glue, there is paint. That is shop class, my friend. And slave labor involved as well.
Right. Yeah, so I was introducing people to the game just to get people to play. So that way I could play the game, so I needed someone to play against. And that lasted for several years. And then eventually a league started at the game store. I played there, and that's where I learned that I was playing some of the rules wrong. Because before that, it was just however I read the rules, then I taught everybody. But then there were a few things that I was wrong on, and it was nice to get out of the house and do that.
Is one of those you can throw the ball as far as you want, Xtreme?
Exactly, yes. You know, if it goes off that meter, it's a long bomb. It's fine.
So that last spot on the meter was this or greater?
Yeah, it was that or infinity.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So actually, if you wanted to throw like around the other side of the field, like that old Atari football game,
yeah,
then you could do that to avoid an interception, because you just
That's
throw
awesome.
around the whole world, assuming the world is a globe and not flat.
Well, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that Atari football game, I used to run the opposite way and come out the other side, and it was great.
It was always great playing someone that didn't know that at the first time they got crushed by it.
Right.
Oh!
Then it's like, okay, now I get it. Like, well, I don't want to play this game anymore.
So I played my first tournament in 2003. Was one of the first tournaments in the U.S. And that really ignited my love for gaming more. And the tournaments play is what I really loved the most. And it didn't take me very long to get attached to that and just want to play in every tournament I could. And then I started running tournaments. I think I ended up running over 50 tournaments and playing in over 100. But I stopped about the same time you did, Johnny. And I think, I don't know, I want to take this opportunity to kind of clarify why I stopped playing, because I think a lot of assumptions were made that I saw online, and I just didn't want to go into big debates online, because I think some people are like, oh, he doesn't like the game anymore, which is not true at all.
You just hate everyone that plays it, right?
No, not that either. There's a lot of little reasons why I stopped, but the biggest reason I stopped playing is because I can't do Blood Bowl like just a little bit. Like I have to be all in on Blood Bowl, or it's not fun to me in a weird way.
Deep.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I'm playing, I want to be like, I have to be fresh, I have to be playing all the time, and it has to be my biggest focus. And it got to a point where I was spending a ton of money traveling to all these tournaments, and I had a lot of other interests in life that I hadn't done, because for 20 years, Blood Bowl was all my free time. And so I needed to explore some other things, and I realized that I couldn't just dabble in Blood Bowl and not be, because I got to the point where I like to think I was pretty good on the tournament scene. So I don't know, regressing from that would have been hard for me.
So you're like a heroin user. You have to cut it off cold turkey.
Well,
so I still really like the game. Most of my adult friends came from Blood Bowl. There's a lot of people that I really, really like, and all came from Blood Bowl. So without Blood Bowl, I wouldn't have had most of the friends I have. So many of the awesome memories I had in tournaments are still like I don't have very many negative things to say about Blood Bowl. So people saying, "Oh, he hates the game now," it's not true.
Well, it's good that you cleared the air on that. There were some shit talkers about it, but I mean, I don't like. Why is it so weird for someone to not be that into a game anymore? I don't. It's not. There was a lot of people. Oh, he doesn't like this anymore. It's like, yeah, but that's okay. I mean, if we didn't play if we didn't stop Blood Bowl, we couldn't do this show covering a different game every other week. There'd be no way. If to this day, the three of us, not Biran, but maybe Biran jumped in. I don't know. He would jump in for the ride. Like, he'd be like, yeah, I'm here to take odd man out. Actually, we need you. Can you get a real odd man out? I just want to sit over here and, but if we were still doing what we used to do, and just to clarify what that means once a month on average, we drive somewhere or fly. We went to Oklahoma, Blood Bowl. It was great. Steve and Scott both down. It was awesome. But I mean, to think I spent that much money. Now he let us stay with them. That was a huge money saver. But I mean, to now think to buy a plane ticket to play a game, I would like, there's no way. There's no way I would ever do that. But if we were doing what we were doing, going to tournaments, Mike and I driving to Michigan, and then Ohio, and then here, and then there, all over the place, how would we ever have time to learn new games, try out new games, build models, paint models, play board game, other games? We'd never be able to do any of that kind of stuff. It was so all-consuming. In Xtreme, did you just hit a point where it was like, you can't go any further, and you're not feeling at the same level, so why do it at all? Is that?
Well, the point I got at was, I was playing at, again, this is all, I don't know, my own self-assumptions. I was playing at not quite the elite tier that I would have called tournament players, but right below that. And I felt to break into that elite tier, I needed to play more often on the computer, on Fumble, on the PC, whatever it took to get more reps in to get up to that tier. And I wasn't willing to commit more time because I was already committing so much time. So then it was, well, I could either play at this level or, there's all these other things I'm interested in. Maybe it's time to step away and do some other stuff. But I do see where people that know us from tournaments would be shocked by us being gone, because we were there, like you said, once a month at a tournament. Yeah. We were there. So then suddenly we weren't. I could see where people would make assumptions and say, oh, they hate the game.
Yeah, I mean, well, there were times where we'd go to a tournament, and we'll talk about going to a tournament, Blood Bowl tournaments in this episode too, but, because we're talking about history now, I think it's good to say that when Xtreme and myself, and Mike too, but when two of us were going to all these tournaments, that's when we concocted the idea to make a podcast about Blood Bowl, Zlurpcast, and at the same time, pretty much, 3-Dive Block and Tackle Zone in Australia, we all had podcasts. And then it might be a year or 2 years later, Bolt Down jumped in, and then a few more jumped in. And that was cool. But without Blood Bowl, we wouldn't have had that. And without our angle with at least the early Zlurpcast episodes, the first 20 or 30, it was tournaments, 100%. It was not covering the rules. It was not covering fluff. We were like, this is what we know. This is what we do. And we talked about tournaments we went to, tournaments we want to go to, tournaments other people went to. That was our shtick. That was our angle to do a Blood Bowl podcast. And so as we started going to less tournaments, and then we started to play other games, I know when we started playing Dread Ball, people were like, oh, what the hell? It's like, I want to try it out. I want to give it a try. It went from a side game, to use a Biran term, to a main game. And then it was like, whoa, and then podcast episodes, and then other game episodes, and Necromunda, and all these other things started popping up. And so it was not as cold turkey as some people think. Some people think it was like, oh, those guys just like one day quit Blood Bowl. It's like, that's not really what happened. We still played, we still ran shit. Xtreme was running the Zlurpee Bowl, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, like whatever you want to call it, non-GW, whatever you want to, for a long time. It's huge. Grew it from nothing into something. And this podcast was given birth to from that brand he created. So I mean, it was slow though. We slowed up, went to a few, skipped out on a couple. Some ones that we would always go to, maybe we didn't always go to those. Like Like Underworld Cup, no, I went last year. I'll skip this year. We started like ease up on our appearances, and then it eventually stopped. But to some people, like Xtreme said, it was almost like those guys just decided they were done one day. Like something happened. Like no, like we've went through every instance in every game. We've had people throw dice, flip tables, do this. That we've had all that. Nothing is going to make us quit like that. It was just after a while, like fuck, there's so much other good stuff out there. And being monogamous with Blood Bowl meant we couldn't do other things. And so I think I'm speaking for Xtreme on the same thing there. It was just, and he's Xtreme. I think you're different than me in the scope of you're either all in or not in at all. Whereas I think I could just casually play. I went to Jeffro's tournament. I didn't have a great time, but it was also, I didn't really have a bad time. It was just, okay, I remember why I'm enjoying other games. Some things just started to pop up. Nothing against any of the players or tournament organizers or anything like that. It was just, okay, like I'm starting to remember why taking a break from this was good. And that was kind of a fun, I'm glad I did it because it made me realize it. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Xtreme, but I wanted to expand on the Zlurpcast side of Blood Bowl.
No, and I think part of the, you mentioned like I'm all in or not in at all. I think we'll get to that more when we start discussing the mechanics of the game too, how that correlates with my feelings towards it. Okay. But yeah, I think we can go on to Mike now.
Not Biran?
I was going to save him
for last. So,
yeah.
Well, I started Blood Bowl in I think '99, so I was a little later into it. A store sort of near me was having a league, and I decided to join. And then I think in like '03, where I learned how to play with those guys, and like both of you have said, I was taught incorrectly. And I learned the real way to play going to tournaments. And I actually met Brian at the first tournament I ever went to, the South Bend Slaughter. And then I went to Zlurpy 2. And yeah, so.
How'd that go for you?
What?
How'd that one go for you?
It went okay. I played three games against Bradford, so But yeah, I didn't know Frank as Frank. And I just remember one of my favorite tournament memories is you walking that last game, because he crushed me the first time we played. And then we ended up playing in the top table, and you walked by and you saw the score was 3-0, and you just said, oh, and then you came back, and you're like, you had the shocked look on your face because I was the 3. And I now realize how I now understand that. So,
Mike was like, wait, you're Solar Flare from the Zlurpy forums? Oh my God, I'm so nervous now.
But, and then, I started playing some tournaments because I had a lot more free time and joined some leagues. That's how I met you guys, because your brother Dean put up a sign, and I remember I was a little scared because it said, for information, contact Avatar 666. And I'm like, okay.
Fun fact on that. So at the first Chaos Cup that Dean and I went to, where Tom is signing up NAF like at the, on site, and I was already a NAF member from Games Day the year before. Yeah. With the black dice, that was awesome. And Dean signs up. Tom's like, "What's your username?" Dean's like, "Avatar 666." Tom's like, "Really?" Like, Dean's like, "Yeah." Like, okay. It was, hey man. Like, these are fucking gamers. Like, if we're going to balk at a username with the number of the beast in it, let's just stop this right now. It's only going to get worse from here with these usernames. So, I mean, think about some of the team names we've encountered over the years. There's like, my team is called CUNT. Like, all right, I got to put this on the wall, and the kids are going to see it. Oh, shit.
Who would do that? That's terrible.
Yeah, who would do that, Mike? All right, so go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Anyway, so I joined a league, and I guess lucky for me, I met my now wife through the Blood Bowl League, so that's always good. So,
all the hottest ladies are at the Blood Bowl leagues.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think there's too many other people out there that can say they met their wife.
And even if there is, you're the first, and that was crazy because I think we could tell the brief story of that. Like, so Katie was in leagues I was in, and I was running before Mike was even in the picture. And I think she had her previous boyfriend in the league too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They were, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mike knows. Yeah.
And she's not gonna listen to this, so we can talk about it. So yeah.
Okay. And I traveled the tournament. I think I traveled tournament with them as well. I think. Well, maybe not on that. That might have been pre-tournaments. That might have been before all the tournaments. But we're playing these leagues, and we're ended up in my brother Dean's basement, and then we're in the finals. Of course, I'm in the final, of course. And then all the rest of the people are off playing other games, and that's when Mike turned on his flirt meter to 11, and he's like, watch.
Yeah, and that was because I remember at that game because you and Nick Anderson both had one-turn scorers. And it was a boring game because it was like, who's going to fail their dodge?
Sucked. That game sucked. I won. I think I won 5-4.
5-4. Yep.
Yeah, and we both had. He had a one-turn scoring Skaven. I had a one-turn scoring Wood Elf Catcher, and it was a super boring game. And it was just as, in my opinion, a sorry excuse for a big Blood Bowl final. Like it. Yeah. It's just, and that's something we're going to talk about with leagues and all that, and bloated teams, and how I just can't stand that. Honestly, I only did it to keep up. I don't like that I did it, but I did it to keep up. And so, Mike, want to quickly tell like what happened kind of in the background? Like we thought we were the main event because we were the Blood Bowl finale. We had no idea that if this was a wrestling show and we're in steel cage for the championship, that apparently the fatal four-way with a couple of cruiserweights stole the show. That's what Mike was.
Oh yeah, because it was Katie, me, Heather, and Dean, your wife and your brother. We were all just playing board games like Taboo and other things, and we were just laughing and just having a great time.
Way better time than our game because we heard everybody laughing. And I'm like, man, that sounds so awesome over there.
And then Nick had to make a phone call and got lost and. Because he couldn't remember what apartment was it your place? It was your place.
Oh, that was a different time. That was Nick over at my house, and he went to his car to get his phone or something.
Okay.
And then I waited like 20 minutes for him to come back, and I'm like, I went to the wrong house. No, the townhouses all look the same, but I actually left the door open.
You had the goose outside. That was the landmark. Was that goose?
You think? But so you were having fun with that and playing games.
And then Katie and I, that's just kind of what we did is we went to tournaments for. A lot. There's that one year she went to 17 tournaments or something like that.
That's crazy. Well, you guys were, when you're doing street ball, you guys were all over that. Like
oh, God, yeah.
I also remember this, and I think it's fun because this is a very fun memory lane trip. We're playing a league at the bunker. I pull up, and you and Katie are already in the same car. Nobody knows you're dating right now. Not that, I don't think it was a secret on purpose. I think it was just, maybe you guys were trying to figure out if you were serious or not.
Yeah, because there was the whole game group, and Mark was in there. And
Mark was still in at the same time. Mark's Katie's boyfriend, and so I didn't know that was right. So funniest thing ever. Katie came out of the car. I'm like, "What's up?" And like I could tell they were like either making out or just little handsy. And so they come out. I was like, "What's up?" She's like, "What's up?" And she goes, "Watch this." And she with tongue, super juicy kiss on Mike. I'm like, we all knew. I mean, she's like, what? How did you know? I'm like, everyone knew.
Everyone knew, yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And at that point, it was like, it's all, and how cool was that, Mike, if you could touch on the wedding tournaments that you did?
Oh, yeah, the put a ring on it. Because she wanted to get married in Vegas, and let me tell you, that's a keeper right there. But she wanted to have a reception, and so we decided because we met in Blood Bowl and all our friends were, or especially our couple friends were Blood Bowlers, we had our reception was basically a Blood Bowl tournament. And we had dice, keep a ring on it was the theme, and then and then we had a bowl. It was at a bowling alley, so that was nice because it was really cheap, and we had food.
Maybe it's casual, except one person didn't know it was casual, right?
Oh, yeah. Green Gears came in a suit. Was it Green
Gears? We're like, whoa. And we're all like dressed like this.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a wedding. And we're like, it's a bowling alley. And he's like, but it's a wedding.
And Gav came from England.
Oh, yeah. So Gavin comes from England. And that was great. I mean, just.
Jesus, yeah.
I will tell you, something I learned from running Chaos Cup. We didn't really touch on that, but I mean, just the idea that something I am doing is going to make somebody from across the world buy $1,000 plane ticket or more and spend their vacation, which they probably should and could be doing with family, on this. And it like put this thing in my brain, like, I can't fuck this up. Like I have to go above and beyond, because I feel it's and it sounds shitty, but it's true. If it's just the game store, the same people that are in your league are going to play in the tournament, whatever. We showed up late. We don't have any prizes. Oh, I forgot to get food. But like Chaos Cup, these guys are coming from Spain, Sweden, England, Denmark.
Yeah.
Even Canada.
Yeah, but they do get a lot more vacation from us thanks to being filthy socialists.
Yeah, but they're still spending it. They could be doing other things. And so even though they have more time, I was just like, oh my God. Like I remember when I first ran it at the hotel, I took off 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah.
I would be the party host for anyone who wanted to. I was like, all right, guys, where do you want to go? They're like, we want to go to the mall. To Woodfield we go, everyone. The entire day at Woodfield, streets of Woodfield, and GameWorks, which was a blast, actually.
Yeah.
And but I mean, I'm just like, this is the least I can do because these people are doing this. So I totally get it, Mike. The idea that you combined, like, hey, let's do a Blood Bowl wedding. To our knowledge, we don't know if any of them have been done since. There were, like, Roofer did one, but he didn't meet his wife through Blood Bowl. But he ran a wedding tournament. That's all I'm aware of. So I think it's still, like, you go down in history, Mike, as the only one, like talking about Blood Bowls merging with real life. That takes the cake every time. So
yeah.
Nice.
First and last, probably.
It was an awesome tournament. I had a lot of fun there.
Oh yeah. And Gav, oh my God, I've never seen anyone drink that much and still play Blood Bowl that well.
and I'm glad. So I remember on lunch break, he's like, hey, I need to buy some footballs.
Footballs, yeah.
And he brought 2 suitcases empty to fill with $75 real NFL footballs. Or maybe
I remember that.
Maybe there were more. Maybe there were 100. They were a lot. And he bought like 15 of them for his American Football League he's in. And I'm like, one, I was like, that's pretty damn cool. 2, it's like, I'm doing the math in my head, like, this motherfucker's loaded. Pretty awesome. I wish I could just go to Sport Mart. And now they're not even around anymore. Look at that. He bought them out. So, Mike, if you can just put a tail on the end of your story, because everyone knows where Xtreme and I left off of Blood Bowl. Your story is still being written on Blood Bowl. Where are we at now?
Never-ending story.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I still run tournaments at conventions when they're held. I mean, obviously, Gen Con and Adepticon didn't happen this year. Chaos Cup still, as of now, is still happening. So
Chaos Cup, Tom Anders ran it from 04 to 2009. No, 2010. I ran it from 2011 to sort of 2014. It was like half me, half Katie. I said, I'll do all the planning, but then on that day, I want to play. And she's like, okay. And then 2014 to 2 years ago, I think, Katie, with Mike's help, ran Chaos Cup. I would say each person that took it over has, like, taken it a step up.
Yeah, for sure.
PW ran the first one, then Tom, then me, then Katie and Mike, then Jeffro, and it was like, it's like passing the baton. And because after 4 years, much like our politicians should want to step down after they serve, we felt it's only right, and also it's exhausting as fuck, and there's no salary. What does it pay? To quote Biran, nothing. A whole lot of headaches is what it pays.
You guys need to get more creative with your merchandising and your fee collection.
Yeah. Well, the price has gone up.
Well, that was always my job has been the same since basically you were running it. I need Mike to bankroll some stuff because that first year I ran it, I did something that was kind of stupid, but I basically ordered a bunch of custom fields, which FF Fields, I don't know if they're still around, these like puzzle boards. This is Xtreme's Bears field. But I ordered a bunch to have on site to sell instead of making people pay up front. I was new. I was trying to cater to everybody. And so
you know, Mike and I think Saul as well helped me kind of bankroll. Oh yeah, because I went to Saul and I go, hey, he's like, what's up? He's in the middle of a game. I go, and I threw down like $2,000 in cash on his lap just because I thought it'd be funny to do.
I remember that.
Because when else am I going to have $2,000 in cash on me? I go, hey, here's your money, asshole. I just thought that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike, you at this point, just so we know where you're at, you'll still run some tournaments. Are you and Katie going to travel to any Midwest Blood Bowl tournaments in the near future?
Probably.
Post COVID and everything. I mean.
Well, yeah, the last one we were at was Jeffro's Wizard World.
The one I was at, or did he do it again?
He's done it again. Yeah.
This year?
Yeah, he did it. Yeah, he did it in January.
So he's at 28 to 3 of them then. Okay.
Yeah. Because I won the second one, and I brought the exact same team to the third one and did not win a game. Exact same roster. So
that has changed, my friend.
We'll go to Underworld at Saul's house because that's my favorite tournament, and that's probably it. So
because that's a party essentially.
Yeah. So that I just freaking love that tournament.
And you guys,
although last year, I will say, I played amazingly. I played way beyond how I should play, and it was awful because I had all this pressure on me. You know, I kept winning. I beat Vanderbeek. I beat Ken Washington. Okay. And then it's like, holy fuck. And then I tied Rodney Dangerfield. So then I'm playing Aaron. And it's just like, so that's the 3 of the 4 U.S., team at the World Cup.
Biran, just to clarify, Rodney Dangerfield is a username online.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you actually played Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, he came back from the dead and still got no respect. So yeah.
Still no respect. Still not funny. So that tournament is a unique one, and we'll talk about that one. I think we're going to cover tournaments too. But Biran, is there any Blood Bowl history you want to speak of?
Yeah, I played in one league. My very first league game was against X-Wing Fetish Boy, all this Josh Snow.
Yeah, Bantha fodder.
Yeah. And very first game, and I've played him in games before, and I get around my, all right, cool, let's play. Oh, this is where we do the handshake. It's after the thing. Okay, got it. Playing Lizardmen, team I bought off, JP, pro-painted.
Was in my pants originally.
Yep. I started losing, and guys started going down, and I was down by like 3 touchdowns, and we still had a whole lot of game to go. And they just started killing my guys. I'm like, can I just concede? He's like, no, I need to get points for casualties. I'm like,
he wants max points, yeah.
I'm like, why are you an asshole? This game sucks.
And then he told you that in a tournament, Katie yelled at him for not declaring a pass action.
Yeah.
So he said,
we give her shit for that. So
from this point forward, I will be a prick in all games.
And like he would like take dice, and if a dice rolled bad, it went to the side, and he had all these weird rituals. And I'm like, this game is for fucking lunatics.
I know. I do a thing where I learned it from this guy in my old leagues. Mike knows this guy, Scott. Turn off because when the other person has a turn, it is pretty boring. So I'm lining up all my dice at 6s and I'm powering them up.
Yeah.
And it's so stupid, the stuff we do, these rituals. And it's like when baseball players they jump over the line and do things. A lot of it is just, we want to do it to kind of just be quirky for the sake of it. I don't know. But
no, I think this game makes people retarded. Because the kind of stuff that he would never do that in any other game I played him against. Play like that. But that's how you do it. I'm like, you know who else said that? The Nazis.
Yeah, they also followed orders as well.
Yeah, so I did that, hated it. I had more than half my team died. So I had journeymen for the rest.
Yeah.
I played Dean and managed to win just because he couldn't roll to pick up the ball to save his life. So I was like 1-1, and then I played Todd. And that's where I actually got the cage. Is that a term? The cage?
Yeah, cage.
Going, and Todd goes, well, what do? You guys protected. I'm like, I think that's what you're supposed to do. He's like, well, this game sucks. I'm like, I agree. And we got through half the game. He's like, why don't we call it here? I'm like, God bless you. Yes.
I love that. Like, once the cage is complete, stalemate has occurred. I love it.
I'm like, that's what they told me I should do. And I just, by the dumb luck, got it this time.
Yeah, because it's like the one tactic that everyone talks about. And it's funny because he was like, that's it. Like, I can only imagine Todd like, well, Good game, my friend. You have completed the 4 points of the cage. I will concede now.
It's like I always tell all of the stupid people online that post Harry Potter shit to read another goddamn book. But it was, for us, the cage was capturing the thing with the wings on it in the Harry Potter broom game, the snitch.
Yeah.
Once you form the cage, that's it. The game's over. That's how Todd and I play.
That was the
cage.
It's like, are we playing cage rules? Cage rules.
Yeah.
That's the new Belly Pirates cage rules. First one to cage wins. Call it.
It's like, why even have models? All we're doing is putting 4 points on a board. You know, it doesn't even matter.
I agree.
So
yeah, that was the only league I ever played in, and I never played another game after that.
Okay.
And I remember in that league too, because I assumed Todd knew how to play because he ran a game store.
Yeah.
And then he plays vampires, and that's not an entry level team, you know. So I'm like, oh, he's playing vampires. Sure, he knows how to play the game, and then he's just, you know, the Todd rage is building because vampires are frustrating as fuck, and he's like, I fucking hate this game. He goes, they should be doing so much better, and I'm like,
shocked that Todd played because old leagues from his old store Crooked Hat, we played a couple leagues there, and granted the football element appealed to him. And he painted up an old human team like the Bears and stuff. But he was always like, there's like, you idiots. There's so many better games out there, but you have fun in the corner, idiots. He never showed interest. So I'm actually shocked that he did play.
Well, we were kind of desperate for games, so.
Yeah.
But also that's when I looked at the history of the game. I'm like, so this game was designed by a Brit who watched one game of American football and said, I got it. And that's why it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, it is like someone decided to make a football game that had only seen one game of football.
Well, hold that thought. So I'm going to bring it back to Xtreme. What is, we went through on the outline, Roman numeral 2 on this episode. Xtreme is what part of Blood Bowl now?
I don't know. Do we want to start tearing it apart? Do we want to start talking about?
Okay, well, let's do this. Since Biran kicked it off.
I would like to comment off of the one Brit, or a Brit saw one game of football, because I have another side note on that.
Okay, let's talk with, we'll start at the very beginning. The creation, Dennis was the pig, right? And then Nuffle is the god. And
we're going to be here all night.
Wait, say it then. What is it?
We're going to be here all night if we go through all this. We don't need to go through all that.
Look at this, by the way, from Jervis Johnson to John.
Oi, mate. I saw one game of football, and here it is.
Was that before or after you ruined
Curb Your Enthusiasm for him?
Curb Your Enthusiasm for him, yeah.
Yeah, and then I ruined it for Dean by telling Dean the story of ruining it for Jervis.
That's the best.
Like, holy shit. Spoiler. So
I played a game against Jervis.
Yeah?
He's not very good.
No. You know what else? He's not good at?
He does not know the rule. When Gary Bonner is explaining rules to Jervis Johnson, because I played next to him, and it was like, holy shit.
He's also not good at eating chicken wings.
No.
Like, he finished 3 in like 2 hours, and we're all like eating like fucking 20 of them. I felt like a total pig.
But he's also thin, and that's probably a correlation there. So.
And he did drink quite a bit. Blood Bowl at that time was that was the pinnacle for me of the game, because it was I phased out of leagues and I got into tournaments and I met a bunch of cool people, and we had fun doing the before and after and even the during all the time. And that's just, I think that's kind of what Blood Bowl meant to 3 out of the 4 of us overall, not the game itself. If we want to look at the game itself, let's, or Xtreme, sorry, you wanted to talk about the rule, the inception of the game, right?
Well, I wanted to make one comment on what Brian said, but then I think I have a good starting point to a conversation beyond that too, where we can start talking about what we're going to go into next. So you had said a Brit saw one game of football and made Blood Bowl. I don't think you're too far off base with that. But the thing that I always had a problem with was the original 3rd edition pitch. Whoever did the art for it also had never seen either a football game or a Blood Bowl game happen before, because where that pitch was worn was a soccer pitch. Like the worn down dirt area.
Sides?
Yeah, we're in the middle of both end zones, and the middle of the pitch was pretty clean. A Blood Bowl pitch, the middle of the pitch would be a disaster. and the end zones wouldn't be wore down like that.
I've never thought about that in my life.
Never in my life, but you're right.
Always driven me crazy.
No, but you're totally right. But it's like I just played the game. I didn't actually analyze the art.
Oh my God, the pitch. The pitch is, first of all, it's supposed to be football. It's a goddamn field. It's not a goddamn pitch. That's for
it's not football. There's no downs. There's no. Now here's the thing though. Blood Bowl first edition. Like 1997. I never played it. I played second edition, which was similar rules. Astroganic pitch. You had rules that were similar to what we have now, but then you also had the official, what they called the NAF rules, which was supposed to be like their NFL, and that did have downs and it was like very complex. So people didn't really, I don't think people really played that style. It wasn't until third edition with this rule book came out that this is third.
It's third.
Oh, so you're right. That's right. Third book. Sorry.
Third edition was the game changer. I mean, it is what Blood Bowl is now is still 80% or more, if not more, maybe 90%. Third edition Blood Bowl. This came out, I believe, in 94. Yep, reprinted 98 here. 94 though. This was like, without this, we wouldn't even be talking about Blood Bowl right now, because no one I knew played second edition for very long. It was complicated. Now, Scott and Steve and Bolt, or Scott mostly and Bolt Down would probably disagree, but he is an anomaly. That's not the norm. It was not a game people played a lot of. When third edition came out, they repackaged it with human and orc teams that looked way better than any plastics they ever did before. There's the humans there. And it was like block dice, not actual dice, not D6s. There were turnovers, which was the biggest change in the game.
Yeah.
You do something wrong, your turn ends. So this day, Xtreme, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that's the biggest thing that changed was the turnover rule. Yeah. And I can't think of any other game where you go from one edition to the next and one rule changed the whole game and made it so much better.
100% agree. And here's the thing. That is that's what made third edition Blood Bowl. And that is one of the things to this day that I now think, this is why I try other games, because the momentum shift of a turnover when nothing else really happens is just a huge kick in the balls. And I understand it's part of the game, but do you realize that all these many other games that have come out since 1994 that use miniatures that's either on a board or measuring, they don't have momentum shifts like that. They don't let you get so mad over one dice roll to say, fuck, it's over. Like, that never happens in other games. There's a series of things that go, okay, I think I might have a hard time coming back now. But Blood Bowl is the only game that I got into that was like, because of the turnover rule, that go to pick up the ball, roll the 2, go pick up the ball, re-roll, roll the 1, your go. It's like, I lost the turn. Like, this is fucked up. Why am I still playing this game? Why am I still going along with this? And there's a level of misery that I think the average Blood Bowl coach, Biran, you like that term, Blood Bowl coach?
No, I don't. I hate it, in fact.
There's a certain level of misery that I think a Blood Bowl coach really enjoys. It's a very like self-inflicting, just that level. Like, you realize that everything can go wrong with one die roll. So the turnover rule is a major part that defines Blood Bowl. And you still have your movements, your passing, your running, your blocking. There's teams that are going to go for casualties, teams that are going to go for touchdowns, but just that momentum shift, it's a really big kick in the balls. And that pisses a lot of people off. And I mean, I think that's, we still have, go ahead.
Can I build off of that?
Yeah, please do.
So I think that was the big shift where with third edition and that turnover rule, it became a risk management game that it wasn't before. And that is the main staple behind the game now. It's a risk management game. And I think that leads to so many conversations. And like, I see it as, I don't know, a hallway of doors that you have to get through. Like, you have people that you run into, like, oh, I like Blood Bowl. It's so goofy and random. Like, okay, you haven't entered through the first door yet and realized oh, once you start controlling things, it's not goofy and random. There's actually a lot more there. And the more doors you go through, the more serious you take it. We're like, I wouldn't recommend someone learning the game then jumping straight into tournaments. It's like jumping into the shark pool, because those guys all have gone through 4 doors already, and you haven't got through that first door yet. You still think it's a goofy random game.
Yeah, the guy who says it's all random is oh, I got goblins and they've got chainsaws and pogo sticks, and it's like, no. Like, this is the least random game with dice you'll ever see.
Yeah.
The turnover rule is what saved me at the end, towards the end of the league, because I would just do the riskiest play first. All right, I'm going to take my Croxagore, and he's going to try to pick up the ball.
Most people will.
Too. Like, the people that say it's super random are the people that haven't learned the risk management yet, haven't got through that first doorway. And they're like, well, anything could happen. You know?
You're right. Those people extreme. It's like, all right, my turn. All right, I'm going to jump in that cage and see what happens. Like, whoa. Like, dude,
you got 5 guys laying on the ground. Pick them up first.
He's going right in. Like, slow down, move everybody first, do 2-die blocks first, then do some things that have some risk involved. Don't do the crazy thing first. But that guy.
3-die uphill block. Here we go.
You know what? Nuffles, I'm due. I'm due today. You're not due. You're not fucking due.
Oh, you're never due.
Like, I'm due for a win. 3 pows? That's what you're due for? Get the fuck out of here.
3 both downs. I win.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up, Xtreme. That's a very valid point. That also goes to, and I think it's okay to talk, I mean, this is kind of, I don't know, topic-wise, it's going to be a little all over the place. But, you know, let's talk about the average Blood Bowl player and some other not so average Blood Bowl players. When a
5'8", 300 pounds, and diabetic.
That's a visual of what they look like.
Yes.
So, Xtreme, when you say that it's risk management and these people are playing this all over the place, that's the same people that say, oh, you like that Biran Pretzels game, Blood Bowl. You know what? The only way I enjoy Blood, and I've heard this, by the way, this is not a made-up story. The only way I enjoy Blood Bowl is like, I got to get just fucked up, you know what I mean? Get my buddies over and just say whatever. Like, you're shitting on the game that Xtreme has spent thousands on this year traveling the country playing.
And, you know, if that's the way they enjoy the game, I'm not saying that they're playing it wrong. I'm just saying that you shouldn't go from playing that way to playing the Sharks at the tournament and expect to have that same level of fun, because it's not going to be fun for you because you're playing 2 different styles of game. I really enjoy the tournaments where we're picking apart the game and playing it to more of an expert level, I think.
I get the risk management part, and yes, you can still do that. Like, do the easiest stuff first to get to, and then the riskiest thing should be your last play. But I still managed to roll a 2 and a 1 a lot.
Well, I mean, you know,
I think it's the single D6 causing so much of a sway.
That is what will make or break the game for a lot of people too. It's
well, so like we've talked to Pat, who works for Mantic. He's like, he always says, I want to love Blood Bowl, but you get rid of turnovers and then I'll play. I'm like, well, then
it would never end.
Yeah,
it would last 10 times longer.
But that's why he then showed me Dreadball, and I'm like, oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. There are no turnovers. You just keep playing and playing and playing.
But there was. You failed to pick that. You failed to pick up that ball. That ball bounces on you and then it bounces off. That was the turnover, and that. Okay,
fair enough. You're sorry.
But you're right with the blocks and all that. Yeah.
So in what Pat told me, you know, coming from he's playing Mantic games and I didn't know any of those games before. He said, because I couldn't knock you down, my turn's over. I'm like, he's like, well, that's not like that way in football. In football, if you miss a block, the play keeps going. Now, if you drop the ball, Xtreme making faces over there. What?
I always hate that argument, but this isn't how it would happen in the real world. We're playing fucking games. You can't do. Yeah. We're not creating a simulation here. There has to be things that don't work the way they do.
But whenever someone says real life, I always go, well, this dwarf star player has a bazooka. Tell me how that works in real life.
Yeah, awesome.
Is that how that works?
In the XFL, isn't it? How they do that?
Yeah, right. So Blood Bowl, like I mentioned earlier, it's been through some changes. It's been organic rules, but it's really all based on this. This rule book's from 1994. What aspects of the game, even as it is in its current state, do you think are not up to where we're at in other games? Like, is it the speed and the what word am I looking for? The pacing of the game? Is that a problem for a lot of people?
Yeah, I think it really is. Because I remember when we were talking about Dreadball, and one of the selling points of Dreadball was if you have a shitty game of Dreadball, it's over in 15 minutes, and then you can start over. If you're having a shitty game of Blood Bowl, it is 2 hours of hell, and while he's just grinding you down, and you can't do anything, and
I mean, let me set the stage. We get up super early. We drive 4 hours to a tournament. It's now 8 a.m. Game 1. I've got Wood Elves. I've got my Ward Answer ready to go, ready to get it. Opponent kicks to me. He rolls Blitz. He comes by, does 2 go for it, hits my Ward Answer, kills him. My one guy that was doing all the scoring, gone. The game hasn't even officially started yet. I didn't even move. The handshake, as Biran says, has not occurred yet.
It's not occurred
yet. Nor will it after that happens.
And I'm like, fuck this. I want to get some breakfast. Like, this game sucks. And I'm going to be sitting my ass in that chair for probably one long day or 2 kind of long days, and then a long drive back, pissed off. And how much did I spend in the hotel room? How much did it's fucked up, some of the stuff we went through. Did it make us more experienced gamers? Probably, but we got us good friends out of it, got us fun stories, it got us a podcast out of it. But if you just think about that scenario, like, what level of like fucked up has to be going through your brain to think that's fun?
I don't know. Go ahead. Yours will be shorter than mine.
Yeah, is my problem with the game that my very first experience with it, when I started playing experienced tournament players that did not know how to turn it down for a new player. Is that part of it?
Yeah,
that's definitely a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, if I could go, oh man, all my guys died, isn't that hilarious? And it's also, that's the other problem of the league is, you have one bad game, you're like I did, where half my team is now dead. The league's gonna suck for me. I'm not gonna do anything, you know.
Biran, would you rather get your ass kicked in a tournament or in a league?
In a tournament, because after the one bad game in a tournament, you reset.
Yeah, almost every tournament. There's a few, but most are.
And it was the same way with Dreadball. I liked playing tournaments more than our leagues because, like, with leagues, like Dreadball, I was okay enough at where I could win pretty consistently, but eventually I'd get worn down.
Well,
and then I would suck.
The reason why I bring that up, and we'll get to your point too, Xtreme, but we want to bring up. But the reason why I bring that up now is, in our previous episodes, when we did our War Cry episode, we talked about playing a campaign, and Xtreme liked that he could do his own thing. Like, in a Blood Bowl league, you're playing for the good of your team, and I always kind of hated that because people would do dumb shit. I'm going to do a quick pass to this guy just to get a point.
Yeah.
The next turn, and then it's like, oh, I lost. It's okay. Like, you should not be okay with losing. Like, we're playing a game, and yes, it's competitive. Why are you okay with losing? Well, I'm trying to farm my team. This first league just a farming league for me anyway. I'm like, what? Like,
yeah, it's
why are we here? I'm helping you just build your team. Like, you're wasting my time. I left early from work to come here to play a game where, not to sound like a win-at-all-cost guy, but when you play a game, don't you try to win? I do every time. I don't try to not win.
I try to win, but the only time I really get mad is when I just get so crushed. Like that it's not even...
What I mean is, in a league, the way most leagues are designed, they're designed for the long haul. And that's why I like the leagues that reset, because it's like, there's no end game here. There's no, I want to build up my linemen too. Don't worry about that. This league is 6 games long, and you're done after playoffs 6 games.
League number 2, you're all starting over.
People love these leagues that go on forever, and it's like, why is that fun? Because it sounds to me like you're playing a computer game, and I want to keep killing the crate dragons.
I'm grinding XP.
Right. I'm like, well, I can't do the mission. It's a level 15 mission, and I want to make sure I'm level 18 when I do the level 15 mission. So I'm just going to kill these guys for 3 hours tonight. Like, I want to kill myself tonight if that's what this game is.
Now, the current league going on at Grognard's aren't people starting over, but some players are choosing not to and bringing players over and just fucking dominating because of that?
Well, yeah, the current rules have the ability that you can fire some of your players but keep the other players. So the players that are really good, you can keep them, but, start with scrubs.
Fire the rest and keep one or two really good players.
They cleanse their roster with players who have normal upgrades and keep the ones who have doubles and stat upgrades.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like garbage.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Extreme. Oh, sorry, for your point earlier, what were you going to say?
Well, I'll comment on this, and then I'll use my point to start a new conversation.
Okay.
But I do think league play, like you've mentioned, is one of the flaws in the game. And I think more emphasis has to be put on whoever's running the league to kind of control things, kind of be like the DM of the league and make sure people are having fun, not doing this stupid shit. But yeah, I prefer short leagues. I think the people that prefer the long leagues are the same people that think every game has to have a campaign mode. And usually you never play the campaign. But there's always that small group of people that do, and those are the people that want to play 100 games with the team and have, everybody up to 176 star player points and all that stuff. And
crazy.
It's I've played long leagues and had some really cool teams and have good memories from those. But I'd rather play short leagues. I really prefer just tournaments. Just give me the same roster every game, and that's what I really, really like.
There's something to be said for leagues that, it's a great point, Xtreme, is the commissioner, I'm sorry, I'm going to put a lot of ownership on them to be the DM of that league. Because I remember, here's where leagues are awesome. This is a newsletter from, the late 90s, the Blood Bowler, Skaven player. It's got, interviews and, trash talk, what's going on.
Shit like that makes me love the idea of Blood Bowl, but not the game.
Here's my opponents who I played in that league. The Brood as the 1998 WWE faction, the Brood. But this is where, we had star players that were created, and then we allowed other people to draft them. And I created a star player generation table. This is to make your own stars in the game. This is stuff that I was ensuring that my league, everybody was smiling and had a blast. There wasn't really, there's still some dickish play that's going to happen. There's still stalling that's going to happen. There's still, I'm going to beat up this guy. But, attitude goes a long way. And in our gaming club episode, we hit on so many good points because this league, the leagues that I ran from 95 to 03 when I started tournaments, I made it a point, these leagues, we're all going to be friends, whether you like it or not. We are a group of friends in this league, and this is not a random gamers. We're playing in someone's house. We're bringing food. We chipped in. We made newsletters. We had fun with it. So even when someone did a stall or someone did, I'm going to foul this guy every turn, we made sure that guy getting fouled somehow laughed and smile out of it. You know what? I'm going to kick that guy's ass next time. I made sure of it. And maybe that's a little pompous that I thought that I could police all that, but I wanted to play the game in a league format because it seemed so cool, and it was cool. Every team reset at the end, so there wasn't perpetual, but like I said earlier, there's some dickish things. Nowadays, a lot of commissioners of a league is just I'm just going to schedule matches and you just play, tell me the results, email, whatever, and it's there is, I get it because being hands-on is a lot of work, but those leagues were a fucking blast. We had so much fun. Yeah. I had a lot of fun in tournaments too. Not every tournament, but in tournaments too. So, I don't want to shit on leagues if done the right way. And if Xtreme's point is taken to heart and your commissioner is a crazy control freak dungeon master, you will have a fun time. But if not, it's probably going to suck.
But I think bringing it back around to, I think we were picking apart the length of the game being a problem, or the pacing of the game, which I do agree with. I think as opposed to modern games, if Blood Bowl was made today, it would be much quicker. It would be a much shorter game. But I think I started playing Blood Bowl at the right time in my life. If I tried to play Blood Bowl now, I don't think I'd be into it very much. But because I put the work into getting to that level, I really appreciate
Why is
attempting
this like
more and
credit
more to get to the
scrolling?
moon.
Xtreme, you got in at the right time. You saw the band before they were cool. You went to the shows.
No, I got into it when I was in the right mental headspace for the game, where I had the free time to devote to getting to the game to a level where I was having fun with it.
Let's talk about this, because I think there's a point to be made about timing. When we all got into Blood Bowl, not Biran, but the other ones of us, late 90s, maybe Mike earlier 2000s.
Yeah.
What other miniature games were you really into? And what other miniature games were around that you thought would be cool to play?
A lot of people around me were playing 40K. I had trouble finding people to play Blood Bowl with, but Blood Bowl is the only thing I played for years.
What else? And any skirmish games out there?
I was playing Chronopia, but yeah, it was hard. That game was dying, and again, a lot of it too was, I mean, we didn't have kids. I had more free time. I mean, that's why I would love to play in a league now, but I just
couldn't. I disagree with both you guys on that. I don't think it was our timing, our personal timing. I think it was we didn't know what else was better. I believe that for myself, because we're doing this show every week, and every other week we review a game. There are games I've played. There are games I want to play. There are games I never knew anything about. This shit was not around in 1996 when I went all in on Blood Bowl. It was 40K and Blood Bowl, maybe Warhammer Fantasy, all GW. There were board games, which was a different animal.
Was Battletech still kind of big then, or no? Because I
don't remember Battletech ever being big anywhere.
It was a lot of people's first miniature game, though.
Okay, I don't remember any of that. So I think about now. Either the last episode or the one before, I asked you guys what your favorite games to play, and all three of you said skirmish games. What skirmish games were out there that you could have played instead of Blood Bowl in 1998?
Chainmail.
I think the point that you made is a good one, and it may apply to you, but I don't think it applies to me, because I also look at myself now and all these games that I keep buying into and trying to really love. I always feel like I'm kind of chasing Amy, only chasing Blood Bowl. Like I've never found the game.
So only the first 10 minutes of the game are good?
Because I've never found that game that I love as much as Blood Bowl.
So when Xtreme is chasing Nuffle, he's waiting for the stoners to show up so he can laugh.
Yeah.
That's a very fair point. And I'm not trying to say either one of us are right or wrong, and there's probably some parts of both. But I think about, so we talked about Dreadball. That was the next sports game we played after our Blood Bowl fix. And when the Kickstarter came out, we were talking about it on your forum, Xtreme, the Zlurpy forums, and I was like, no, I'm Blood Bowl. Like, I disregarded everything. Blood Bowl ripoff, get it out of here.
Pay no mind. Didn't
back it. And I was already somewhat familiar with Kickstarter, so it wasn't like, how do I do this? It wasn't even that. It was just, no, pay no mind. Blood Bowl copycat. And I'm thinking, what an asshole opinion that I had then to close the door on what could be a better game. And from that moment, when Mike, I think it was Mike, you showed me Dreadball for the first time, but I'm like, why would I ever close the door on a game? Like, why would I ever do that? And I did that so much with Blood Bowl, because time investment, money investment, I mean, everything. It wasn't what team do you play? It was, what team am I missing? Like Phil in our leagues has like 3 of every team. He is a Blood Bowl fanatic. And I'm thinking, I was getting to that until my mind was opened to like, there's some really cool shit out there. And if I spend 1 weekend a month going to tournaments, the other 3 weekends a month pondering the perfect roster and building and painting, I'm missing out on all the cool shit going on.
I think time investment is a good, I don't know, it's kind of an eye-opening thing for you to say that, and it makes sense to me, because I always look at 40K players as, I look at them and I'm like, why do you still play that game? And it's because they have a decade of invested into that game already, so they keep playing the new edition. Like, there's better mass battle sci-fi games even, but that one's always going to dominate because there's so many people that have invested into it for a decade or more.
Well, there's something to be said for, and I want to talk about this with Blood Bowl, but 40K has the same thing too. There is the game of Blood Bowl, and then there is the story of Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl has some of the coolest looking imagery and fluff and style around. Game aside, just the look of it. Necromunda is the same thing for me. I buy a bunch of shit for it. I have all these cool books. I love it. But sometimes I get annoyed when I play games with people because there's a lot of weird shit with the rules. That's another one that needs an arbitrator to be the DM.
Well, and just like Blood Bowl, Necromunda came out and the rules still feel like they're straight out of the 90s. That could be good because that's what I think a lot of people wanted, but
there was some of that.
Necromunda is rough. Just like Blood Bowl is rough.
They did take some of the old Necromunda stuff. I agree. Some modernizing, but it is still, now it's alternating though, I think, right? So that's good. But 40K has the same thing. These old timey GW intellectual properties, you have to understand that, we're drawn in because we like the way orcs look in their universe.
Yeah.
These aren't Lord of the Rings orcs. These are GW orcs. We're drawn into that. I have stuff on my wall because I'm drawn into all of that. So Blood Bowl, the game, is one entity. Blood Bowl, the, intangibles, everything else, is another entity. I love
the idea of Blood Bowl. I like.
Yeah, well, people shit on the new Games Workshop models. I don't know why.
I think they're awesome.
They all look fantastic. Ooh, they're so big. Okay, but when Willie Miniatures makes big ones, you didn't say shit. But
Xtreme, you don't like the new miniatures?
No.
Oh, I think they're great.
I've never tried to put together.
Thank you.
I keep putting. I always use the example. Dark Elf Blitzer, 14 pieces. No fucking Blood Bowl model needs 14 pieces.
They should all be push fit.
I don't enjoy assembly. I enjoy painting models, so I don't want to devote a week to assembling crap.
Yeah.
We should get married, Xtreme, because I enjoy assembling and you enjoy painting.
Yeah, same here. Give me the plastic 14-piecer, because when it's done, I know it's done, and I know that if something happens, it ain't getting scuffed up. It's plastic.
Well, yeah, it's plastic, but you need a. But does the Witch Elf thumb need to be a separate piece?
No, you're right. And I was building Sisters of Battle stuff the other day, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Why is the tube a thing, And why is the piece that goes in this podium a speaker separate? It's already in there.
Yeah.
I agree. They do that all the time. But
they're capable of making push-fit dynamic models. They do it with a lot of the Space Marine.
So let me ask Xtreme and Valdric, fast forward to finish assembly. Now do you still hate it?
I still think they're too overly detailed.
Yeah.
I would rather have open spaces to give me the freedom to paint details on if I want to or not.
Okay.
I was amazed at the restraint they showed with the new Chaos Warriors. They had the kind of the empty fields on their shoulder pads, as opposed to being 3 levels of ornate sculpture. And
you're right. Yeah. I have those models. They look like Blood Bowl players. I like them.
Yeah, they look like Blood Bowl players. They don't.
Yeah, they fit within the sphere of the base, which I'm a fan of. So they get hung up on shit.
So, that's part of that is just GW's way of, I think, the digital designing of miniatures now, as opposed to the sculpting. The good thing is they look great. The downside is, well, they're going to look the same, and converting is going to be a bitch. Mm-hmm. Blood Bowl players love chopping arms off and shit, and I still do that. I have an orc team with the new models, and every one looks unique because I had to build it, then cut the arm off. And there were some struggles I had, but I still like the way they look.
One of my other complaints too, and I think it's just I don't know, my own weird opinion. I think the new Blood Bowl models and stuff look too serious. Like they're taking themselves too seriously now. Where
the halflings. The halflings are still silly.
No, those have to be though. Otherwise, they'd never sell any. But I love the second edition models. I think there's a lot of people that do, because they were kind of cartoony, but more than that, they all had cool character to them. And it was like, this isn't a serious universe. Like, it's stupid that we're going to settle wars on a Blood Bowl pitch and stuff. But the third edition models were all just boring and
Well, so third edition, which is kind of funny, the game that all this is based off of is actually Warhammer Fantasy races playing Blood Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There are no high elves in Blood Bowl. I don't give a shit if this says there's high elves. There aren't, as far as I'm concerned. They don't exist in the Blood Bowl universe. They're a Warhammer Fantasy race. But third edition took all the races from Warhammer Fantasy, made models out of them. They look like Warhammer Fantasy models with the weapons clipped off. And I did not like the majority of those. I'm trying to think right now what I really liked from that model range.
Every time I think of third edition models I like, it's star players.
Yeah. Morgan Thorg was good. The Griff was kind of dumb. The chicken one. The orcs, I like the plastic orcs better than the metal ones. The humans look like Empire troops. Mike would know that. It was one of his armies. They didn't look like human Blood Bowl players. They looked like Empire.
Did they have puppy sleeves?
They were close. They weren't sleeves, but they had like bubbly armor. Do you know what I mean by that? They weren't. They were fantasy races.
Yeah.
When the next series of models came out, the metal ones, whatever you want to call it, fourth edition, that went back to second edition style. But to me, I think the plastic ones grab some of that old school look. I don't think the plastic new ones are anywhere near as bad as the third edition metals at all. They're to me much closer.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying I feel like they took them into like a serious level. Like I don't know, like all other Games Workshop lines. Like this is, we're fighting. It has to be serious and dark and grim, or serious and fantasy. Where Blood Bowl initially was kind of like light and goofy visually. Yeah.
To be fair though, if you look at late 80s Warhammer 40K books, Rogue Trader, the Chaos books, Lost in the Dam, the Slaves of Darkness.
Here we go.
Demons were goofy as shit back then anyway. They're all like, they weren't scary. They were funny. They looked like a Monty Python animation. So everything GW was kind of, to me, goofy back then, to be fair. I don't think it was a Blood Bowl thing.
Well, I just think it fits in with the Blood Bowl universe more, since the Blood Bowl universe is kind of a parody, kind of.
That I agree with. And to me, I think the models are cool. I don't see the lack of goofiness. But you're right. They look like football players of different races, which is all I ever wanted. I don't want army men with weapons cut off. I want, races of football players. That one orc team that I forgot who made it, they were the first orc team that looked like they were in football shoulder pads and pants and all that. Like, that's pretty badass. They made an orc football team. And then I'm sure the manufacturer's like, well, duh, isn't that what this is? And meanwhile, nobody before that ever did an orc football team. They did orcs that one guy happens to hold a ball.
Instead of an axe. Yep.
Instead of an axe, right.
Do you remember, I think it was one of the, it was either a Citadel Journal or one of the first Blood Bowl magazines. There was a converted werewolf team.
I think so. Was it the ones with the big Wolf Rider heads on human bodies?
Yeah.
I think it was on orc bodies.
Orc bodies?
But they put the head and the tail on, but they all had like traditional football pads though. Mm-hmm. So like the torso area looked like what you would expect a football player to look like. I always loved that team.
It was cool. I always think that, I just wanted football-looking players all this time. So I have the Chaos team. I don't think every Beastman has to be running. It would have been cool to have a few that were in place because, the one thing with model poses, you go to a tournament or you play a league, people skill up. And I like to the guy with his arm up has block, the guy with his arm down has mighty blow. When all the models have a look the same feel, you do lose some of that. So I will say that much. You lose some of the individualistic look to them. And conversions are very difficult with the new GW models. I will not deny that one bit. They're intended to be built a certain way. For example, the Witch Elf, to Mike's point, same girl. This time I got my hand out. The next one I've got your heart beating out. But it's the same model, same pose. Would have been cool to have another Witch Elf doing something different. So I do miss that because that was something that was pretty damn cool. And if you said, well, now I need 4 blitzers because the box has 2. I get another box. Now you got 4 guys doing this? And so that's why with my orcs, I made them like crazy. I had some fantasy bits in there. I used the brutes and mixed in as blockers. But so I do see that. I'm not going to say the new GW models are the most perfect thing ever, but I'm pretty happy they're plastic and they look cool.
They're far from bad. They're just not my personal taste.
Is it, Brian, are you just still mad about the dwarf that's running with his beard?
Yeah.
That's pretty stupid.
That one, his beard are his feet.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You said they weren't goofy. That's pretty goofy.
That is pretty fucking goofy.
That's crossing a line into stupid.
And like we said before, the figures are so dynamic that they're hanging over the edge of the base and they're getting tangled up. And I'm sorry, you have to really know the game to tell the black orcs from the blitzers.
Well,
I don't see color in orcs, so.
Yeah, that one. I mean, I like using those brutes to help. They're a little bigger.
The auric brutes, yeah.
Here's another one for you, Mike. You mentioned dark elves. The dark elf blitzer, and then there's one pose of the linemen that are exactly the same.
Yeah.
The dark elf blitzer has his foot up, and he has a bigger thing on his head.
Yeah.
So you got to probably mark something on the base. I get that, but
paint them different, maybe. Does that?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to shit on the new models because of that. Because what about the GW Amazon team? I could never tell the blitzers from runners.
Oh, those are garbage. Yeah.
Or from linemen.
But those were not designed to be a Blood Bowl team. Those were Mordheim Amazons that they just snipped the weapons off of, like you said, and converted to a Blood Bowl team.
I remember playing against somebody at a Zlurpcast Bowl, two different Amazon players. One of them used the blitzer model. One of them used this model as a blitzer. The other one used that model as a line woman.
Yeah.
And it drove me insane because I don't know how they bought the team, whatever came with what, but they're like, well, no, the sideways ones are linemen because they're just sideways. I'm like, well, I think sideways is probably blitzer.
Yeah.
He's like, well, not on my team. I'm like, oh, fuck. And, I got screwed a couple times on who was a blodger. Biran, blodger, do you like that term?
No.
Merging block and dodge into one?
No.
Well,
Biran, is there anything about Blood Bowl that you like?
The fluff?
The coaches?
No. The players? I like some of the
them?
armies.
Yeah, exactly.
Play. I like
the armies. You said that on purpose.
Yeah, armies. So,
I like a game that spawned from it called Blitz Bowl.
So, well, that's going to be its own episode.
Yes.
Xtreme, how would you want to get things on a track here? Do you want to say where we're at right now with what you like about Blood Bowl and what you don't like? Do you want to just have some like pros and cons? Mike, sorry.
I'm going to take my first pee break.
Check it.
So whoever had an hour and 25 minutes, you win.
You know what? Can we all take a quick pee break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
124. I'm going to leave the recording running.
That's fine. Blood Bowl. We're still talking about it. You may have thought that was a little quick edit there and you thought it was over. No. It ain't over. It's never over. But I do want to talk to these fellas about what they love, what they don't love about Blood Bowl, and kind of where their headspace is at now with it all. Then we'll kind of recap it and go to our usual Zlurpee ratings. For me, I'm going to pull a carrot top and be a prop comic. I brought out some stuff with me because I think it's good to reminisce a bit. This is my old case that showed where I've been. Some of them came off here, just fell off over time. But, NAF tournaments, Headbangers Ball, all the Chaos Cups, that case traveled with me to every single tournament. It was great. Going to Pennsylvania to support a good cause for Jamie's tournament, 4 Diamonds Cup. Great coin. Mike and Katie were there as well. Xtreme's short-lived campaign to become a tournament director. If you play Xtreme, you win a coin that says I played Xtreme, and for some reason he gave me this. I have NAF rankings with all teams. They sent me this patch. There was no iron-on backing, and I don't sew, so that one never made it on. Headbangers Ball bottle caps. That was the one at Xtreme's garage was the best one because there was a lot of alcohol flying about in there. No one remembers what happened. Beating Xtreme, dwarf on dwarf action was a great memory for me, especially. Headbangers Ball, Xtreme painting metal heads to go on every team.
Who painted those?
Xtreme.
Think again?
Mike did?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I painted all those.
Oh, you know what? I now remember. I'm getting old. My brain's not what it once was. I know it was you because you made one of them Blue Oyster Cults.
Exactly. I was going to bring that up.
Nobody else would ever do a BOC guy. They'd stick with the common one. So,
I did a corn one for Heather. I did.
She loves the corn one, yeah. So thank you, Mike. I don't even want that edited. I want my fuck up to be on record. I don't care.
All fuck ups are on record. That's
they still look great. So there's that. There's G-Dub's dugout. So G-Dub had his own dugout. We had turns.
Do you stand in there?
What it goes 1, 2, 3, foe. It's got for these guys here, Tupac and Biggie. Does that say Jeff's dad or no? Does that say at the top?
Jeff's bro.
Oh, Jeff's bro. Yep. Knock the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's Xtreme and me.
Yeah.
Hitting the streets. We got Kilowog and Scott Prime there.
That's a little bit flattering, I think.
Gold member.
Gold member. Homies. So like that kind of stuff, or like, Xtreme ran all these street bowl tournaments and made his own dugout there. There was that street bowl or no? That was just
I don't think so.
Another Zlurpcast one, but I mean, Xtreme's own star player. This was signed and numbered.
Rare.
I mean, some of this stuff is when you look through these things, the invention. Someone's like, "What about little rubber bands?" Like, "Oh my God, little rubber bands! Holy shit!" The fact Golf Rockers have a song called Blood Bowl that we're on. Golf Rockers. I mean, without the game of Blood Bowl, I wouldn't have any of these things. I wouldn't have this show. I wouldn't have you guys. So, of course, it's still a big part of me. How am I ever going to not have it be part of me? But I played Blood Bowl against Heather 3 days ago. And she had Dark Elves. I had Chaos. I kicked to her. She got the ball. She immediately caged up. I'm like, "Oh, you remember the one thing?" She's like, "Yeah, that's the one thing." I'm like, "Yeah." And so I kind of surrounded the cage. Like my way to block it is always go one square away. She made a good one die and then kind of like squirted out and then moved her whole team that way. And I, couldn't catch up. She scored in, I think, 3 turns. I got the ball, marched downfield, knocked a couple guys out. I stalled for 2 turns, could have scored on 7. Maybe 6. 6 would have been a go for it. Could have scored on 7 easily. Waited to score on 8. That's the half, 1-1. I get the ball. I give it to a Chaos Warrior to start with. I don't fuck around. There's no one skilled up, so I want the 4 strength out there. And I just slowly march down with a half corner cage. March down, and I get to a spot where at turn 5, I realize I'm sitting pretty good here. I have 8 models. Ball carrier 1 square away, 7 other models around. I go, "Okay, your go." She goes down, she hits one guy. I do my 1 blitz, boom, and I just kind of, clean up a little bit. Next turn. I was like, "All right, scored, good game." She goes, "I never want to fucking play this again." And I said, "That makes 2 of us." It was exactly the kind of game I remember. It took over 2 hours to play. One person wasn't having fun, and I can tell, and it wasn't me. I have to take it back. I wasn't having fun. I was, one person's not having fun because they're getting, the shit kicked out of them at a certain point. Now, she had fun when she had the ball because the first half was back and forth. But as we all know, what happens when a strong team can get some control over the board? They just dominate. And there's a point where it's like, there's nothing I can do. If you're playing a tournament, Josh, like he did to Biran, "I had to go for casualties, all I can do," or whatever. But people do other shit because you get to a hopeless point. It was not that fun. When I played in Jeff Rowe's tournament, no knock on him, he did a phenomenal job in first Winter Wizards Bowl. I had 3 games. 1 game I stalled and it blew up in my face, which does happen sometimes, and it ended up being a tie, and I was pissed off about it. But I'm like, well, I don't regret it, because that's what I would have done in every other situation. He got a really lucky 2-die block to get in there, or a reverse 2-die block to get in there. So without Blood Bowl, all these cool little props and these fun stories. I mean, I have rosters from the 90s still, handwritten, like without Blood Bowl, I wouldn't have all that kind of stuff. But it's over. Like, I'm done with it. I don't want to play again. I don't want to play in a tournament. I don't want to play in a league. I don't want to play a one-off game. It's just not going to happen. I'm glad I bought this a couple years ago. It's a good book. It's got like all the teams in it. It's got some really cool fluff. It feels like a real book. It feels better than a Blood Bowl book. Glad I bought it. Don't regret it. I'm glad I went to all these tournaments and got my old dice cup, and it's been with me like that bag to all these events. But it is clearly in the past for me. I don't want to play Blood Bowl anymore. And when we get to the ratings, both the good and the bad will be taken into account. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. That's it. So I don't know, Xtreme, do you want to go next?
Sure. So one of the things you were talking about with your game with Heather there, where you kind of got locked into your strong position and she felt helpless. That's part of the game that I really enjoy, because I see that as like a puzzle of how do I crack that cage, or how do I put pressure on you to make a mistake, or have to roll dice against me to where dice are going to screw you, and then I have an opening. And getting better at that, I see that as a cool challenge. But I can also recognize that I've played other games where that same thing applies, where I don't want to put the time into learning that. So I think it's just having so much Blood Bowl work already put into the game that I enjoy trying to go to that next step. Where like War Machine, very similar in a lot of ways, where you are stuck in situations where you have to solve the puzzle the right way. And I just wasn't willing to put the time in, or I thought I was. I tried, but I just wasn't.
The puzzle side is a good point. We didn't talk about that before. That is a lot of when you feel hopeless, like you're out of options. Now she had, I think, close to half the team was knocked out. I think she had maybe five or six, but it still was a puzzle to your definition. Was there a way to get in and put pressure on? Yeah, at a certain point. I mean, at a certain point, there's still going to be 2-die blocks uphill each time, but you might get a push, and you might wedge your way in there and do something. So the puzzle side is a very good point that you bring up.
But could you say, could you alter your story in saying you put in situations where you feel hopeless rather than they are hopeless?
Sure.
I just don't like definitive statements. They drive me crazy sometimes, because the situation wasn't hopeless. It just felt that way.
So in other games, usually, maybe you're blown off the table in a game that's a battle game, or some games have a slaughter rule of some sort. There are moments where you feel like you're in it to a certain point, and then the game is over. Blood Bowl doesn't have that. It's, for a lot of people, they feel like I've lost this game, but now it's the agonizing rest of it. I could have scored on the fourth turn and given her the ball back. Why would I do that? Now, Biran would say, well, yeah, you should probably have a house rule. It says just score when you can score, so you can actually have a game back and forth. But sorry, I've played 300 NAF games or whatever, and that's not what you do. You do what I did, and that is build this unstoppable wall with a bunch of strength 4 guys over there, and like, you ain't getting in. It ain't going to happen. And I felt shitty for doing it. And I told her, I said, I'm doing this because I'm going to talk about this on the show. She's like, whatever. But I said, that's why. Because I'm like, I want to talk about this. It's a part of the game. So yes, somebody might feel helpless, but they are not technically helpless. But if a game is supposed to be fun, people feel how they feel, right?
Yep. No, and I don't disagree with that at all. I just didn't want it to be a situation where like, oh, well, it was 100% guaranteed, because it never is. So some of the
But
stuff
if you
I
are
like,
looking at a 2-die uphill block to get a chance, it's close to hopeless.
but there's other things you do before that. Like you put tackle zones on his guys, so that way he has to make decisions on his
right.
turn.
If you were had better luck at the beginning, or were a better player overall, you probably wouldn't get into that situation.
So in that game, she had, like I said, I think 5 or 6 players. A couple of them were putting pressure on me, then 3 were on the other end with my one guy on the ground. This was a tournament. She would do what Josh did. I got to beat this guy up. Every turn I'm going to foul him. There's no way that helps you win the game. You have a guy that's out of it on the other side of the board, but if I can get a point in the tournament standings, it's better than not a point. And that's what the game becomes. Xtreme, would you agree that in a tournament, that's what you do? If you feel like the game's lost, I'm going to try to get casualty points?
No.
Well,
Really?
actually, I'll counterpoint you. In a league, if you got a
Yes.
guy down, I'm going to go to town. If I can't force you to score, I'm going to go to town. I'm going to fuck up as many of your players you can to force you to score.
Of course.
So then, yeah. And so, because again, like we said in the leagues, it's the long con. It's the long game.
Shouldn't Blood Bowl also be fun for one-off, though?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think, like you said, now if you were just playing a one-off, not to prove a point about this is how I play Blood Bowl, would you have played that way? If it was
against
play?
her or against who?
Against Heather, like if you guys were just playing, hey, let's play a fun game of Blood Bowl.
I would have scored and said, I'm going to try to get the ball back.
Yeah.
And against Xtreme, I would have done exactly what I did.
Right, because it's different
And
expectations.
against Mike, I would have done exactly what I did. In fact, I probably would have been more asshole about it.
You would have. You should have.
I probably would have put myself more at risk to try to, go for it just so I can begin the stall on turn 2. You know what I mean?
I want to stall an extra turn, so I'm going
right. I want to risk this turn just so I can hope to get another shittier turn. But that's because that's who I play, and I know people.
Yeah.
How they
And you're
prefer
still bitter about that game we played at Underworld. So
I'm always bitter about every game, except this one.
No, but that kind of, I like that point that you mentioned, that playing against me, you would play that way, playing against someone, because I do see it as a flaw in the game, but also kind of a know your role and you'll have fun with the game kind of thing. Like what I was talking about earlier, like the people that just think it's a goofy, random game, if they only play against people that think it's a goofy, random game, those people are going to have a blast. And the people that want to take it seriously and really pick it apart and play like assholes, if they're playing against other people that want to play that way, they're going to have a good time. But if you try to cross those streams,
you show up to Chaos Cup for the first time. You've never played in a tournament before. You get Frank, you get Vanderby, you get people that are Brian too. You get like these really analytical players that are
Stinky Swede, maybe.
Yeah, any of the foreign guys. I mean, it's like
they all stink. Yeah.
I didn't mean you said stinky. I meant they're.
And I mean by odor, not by ability in the game.
So you play any of those guys and you're fresh. You are like, I just became a man today. Like you.
Why does my asshole hurt so much?
Right. It is. I no longer see the world as I saw it before. You go into the mode of, how do I min-max the roster? How do I take the best skill? How do I cover the weakness of my team by picking these skills? You go into immediate competitor mode. And real quick, the one thing I always said about Blood Bowl, and I'm defending it, and I still will defend this point, and I said it, I think, in our Warcry episode, the fluff of Blood Bowl is a game. So you can use that as a defense. Why are you playing like a dick? Win at all costs. Well, because I'm trying to win this game, but my team is trying to win that game. And I know it's kind of like a shitty kind of excuse, but if you really think about it, though, like, why is your 40K Chaos Lord running man the mountain? He would never do that. He would get immediately killed by the Chaos God for such cowardice. Well, I don't want to give you max tourney points. But in Blood Bowl, I mean, there's something to be said for, well, why do you keep kicking my ass? It's already 4-1. Well, if I win 5-1, I get an extra thing. I mean, it's almost like defensible in a weird way because the game, the fluff of the game is the game. Does that make sense? Kind of why people sort of justify stalling's part of it, man.
To some extent. But I wanted to comment on your new player that came in and became a man. Like that is one, you have an option when that happens to you. And I think this where it's very common in Blood Bowl. You can go down the path of, oh, wow, my eyes have been opened. There's a lot more to this game. I want to know more. Or you can go, everybody in this game's a fucking asshole. I'm out. Those are like the two divergent paths.
Well, if you're going into a tournament and expecting them to play nice, well, you're an idiot.
Hold on.
I wouldn't go to Chaos Cup and expect.
Hang on, though.
You went into a league playing tournament players, though.
I have played in tournaments where people were brand new, and I've been asked by tournament organizers can go easy on somebody.
Yeah.
And I've done it. One time it backfired. I actually helped the guy go, no, do the block here first, move him around, come around, and we ended up with a tie because he did a crazy thing at the end to tie it up. So I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. But I was asked as a veteran of the game to go easy on somebody and show them the ropes in game one. Now, they may have got their shit pushed in, if you will, on game two, but there were newbies at tournaments, so that's not a really valid thing. Biran, you might be asked one day, I mean, probably never, but you could have been asked one day by Mike, hey, this guy, there's a kid playing. He's 9. He played the video game. I'm putting you against him in first game. I know you
probably still lose because I'm not good at Blood Bowl.
Well, you're gonna say, I know
and
you.
I would never do that to the kid, but yeah, I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
Biran, I know you don't give a shit about the game, but if you let him win and show him some things, I'll give you an extra set of dice afterwards.
Okay, I'm in. Yeah. No, you say yes. I was playing against tournament people, but I've played these people in other games, and by people I mean Josh, JP, Dean, Mike. We're all super nice. Josh was especially vindictive.
Yeah,
and he's not that way in other games. So
he told me with Blood Bowl, I mean, I brought him into Blood Bowl years ago and I'll make sure he watches this episode too. I brought him in.
He's the one that made me hate Blood Bowl.
Well, to be fair, he was scarred for life by Katie.
Yeah.
By her not allowing him to throw that pass. So it's all her fault.
Yeah, I met him. You know, he was my intern in radio. We became friends. I brought him to my house. I said, I got to show you this really cool game. He saw a thing on my phone. It was like a Space Wolf thing. And he was like, World of Warcraft? I'm like, no, the other thing. Let me show you. And then he's like, oh, this is really cool because it was football. He likes football. I helped him build a Skaven team out of fantasy bits. We got together, showed him converting all that. I showed him like the game and then good things to do. He was like, tell me everything. Tell me how to be good with Skaven. I'm like, okay, gutter runners up the ass, man. But, you know, and we go through everything to prime him to be tournament ready.
Would there be a montage video of this in the movie?
There was. There's that. Basically, we took our shirts off. We were punching meat as well. It was awesome. And they were like, "Where'd you get meat?" I'm like, "I don't know. We're not going to eat it though. We're just going to punch it."
But it was a Euro loaf instead.
It was a Euro. Show me your calf because you've got Euros calves. I don't. Yeah, you got. Yeah, I want to slice some of that off.
Put it on some pita.
But I showed him the game as it was meant to be played in tournaments because he wanted to go to tournaments. I don't remember if we were doing leagues then or not. I don't really remember. But I remember he was, and I told him about how we go to different places. We travel. He's like, I want to do that. I'm like, cool. You got to know all this stuff. So when then he played Katie, he got a little yelled at about, you know, not calling things.
Not moving the turn marker? Was that one? The legal
you know what? Turn marker nobody does, which is kind of bullshit. I love turn marker. I'll go on record to say that. Bring it back. But calling your action before you start doing something. The two common ones are blitz and pass, or pass and handoff, I guess, too. Because most people don't think to call a pass when the ball's all the way down there. I don't have a pass. Like, holy shit, I got the ball? I got the ball in 2 tackle zones? Hell yeah, I'm going to pass it. You didn't call pass action. You cannot pass it. And so Josh was called out on that. That one is like, you know, he was molested at an early age. And now he's going to look at Biran a different way. He can't trust you, Biran. He can't trust you.
But I was gentle with him in other games.
Blood Bowl was a trigger game for him. I don't know what it was because you're right. He played Dead Zone and other games that we played, Dread Ball too. And
he would get salty at other games, but I think he would get salty when things went bad. But I think he saw Blood Bowl's my way to fucking stomp Biran in the ass.
Yeah. I mean, he was connected to it. He, you know, like a lot of us, we travel to tournaments. We spent a lot of time and money and got into it. For him, the football thing was part of the connection. But that was one where he was like, no, fuck it. The way you play is this way. It was done to me this way, and I'm going to punch down on the next guy and do it to that guy too. And so that was something for him. And Xtreme, you said it earlier. It was, I play against you a certain way. When we go to Underworld Cup, and that tournament is known for, at the end of the tournament, having a crazy roster because you have a fuck ton of upgrades by game 5. I had a team with 2 one-turn scorers on it. That sucks. I mean, now I played against a team that had 3 one-turn scorers on it, and that sucked more. But why the hell do we have one-turn scorers in the tournament? That was the structure of that thing. It's set up it's a stomping tournament. No knock on it. I love Sal. He does a phenomenal job. But the way it's built is by game 6, that is a stomp ass fucking game. That is you're gonna everyone's
6 games. Ugh.
I had a dwarf runner with strength 5. Why is that allowed? But in that tournament, it was. I sacrificed other stuff to do that. To me, it doesn't make for fun games. I had fun because I got to listen to Tom snore and fart all night and try to find out how do you turn off Avengers on the 100-inch TV. And fuck it, I can only turn the volume down. We're going to watch it. That tournament's fun because of all the other stuff. But as a game, it's brutal. And Biran, you would have gone nuts because somebody would have stomped you so hard. You would have been like, I'm fucking going home right now. It's 2 a.m. I'm going home. I don't care if I'm drunk. Give me the fucking keys. So anyway, I don't know where we're at on that one.
I will say that is one of the things I love about tournaments is if you're just there to have fun, lose your first game.
Get it the loser bracket.
You're in the loser bracket. And because it's always that way at like Chaos Cup at the bottom half of the back of the room. That's where all the fun is.
Agreed.
People are laughing and they're having a good time.
I find that in every tournament I've played in. Yeah.
Xtreme.
I think in responding to your comments, I think I got us off track here. So getting back to my pros and cons, my likes and dislikes, I think a lot like what you pointed out with all your knickknacks and stuff, like my personal history with the game, all the awesome memories I have of the game will always be there, and I'll always like the game more because of all that stuff that goes along with it, the friends I've made, the memories I've made and everything. So that's a huge part of it, obviously. And then like how invested I got into my dwarf team was definitely a big thing. So that became like a
awesome.
Professional.
Everybody knew you as the guy that went to the next level. You built your own stadium. You had a website. You had shirts. Your campaign, your logo is a 40 miner. You went above and beyond. Few people did that, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and like running a tournament and like doing all that. I don't know. There's so many awesome memories and stuff I have with the game that I always really like. The game itself, I still really, really like it. Like I think we mentioned throughout this this episode, the puzzle solving, the challenging, I guess, of always wanting to learn more and get better and keep improving. I really like, and there were different points too. Like after I've been playing the game for so many years, that something else would kind of open up and be like, oh, there's a different way of thinking about this. I don't know. I just really liked the problem solving and puzzle aspect that there in the game. And playing against people in tournaments that you may not see as often that are much better than you and sitting down and playing was always like, oh shit, like not only do I have to get better, but this guy's doing stuff I've never seen before. Now I have a whole new area of things to think about. Maybe I can apply some of those to my game. So those are all things I really like. Things I would say I dislike, it is as much as I love it, it is a dated game. Like it's still based off of that 1994 edition. I know a fair amount's changed since then, but the core of the game is still mid-90s and it shows. So it's hard to get new players in, I think. They try it, or I guess it's not hard to get new players in because of the world and the fluff and everything draws people in. It's hard to get new players to stay in.
Would you say it's easier now? We had an old Zlurpcast episode years ago, and we talked about the barrier of entry to this game, about can't find a box set, you could buy a field from this company, teams from this company, dice from this company, but then you can't go to a store. We talked about this crazy barrier of entry. Now, that's all gone. Since the new edition, it's been 3 years?
Yeah, well, 4 years. It was 16.
4 years. Go to a GW store. It still may not be there, but the teams are there because there's new teams this year that came out, right? New start.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So you can jump into this game now in a way that you haven't been able to do since the re-release, which was 98. That was the last time I remember seeing a good, healthy stock of stuff. There was times like the bunker we used to play at in Chicago, Downers Grove, technically, that had some teams here and there, but it usually never stuck until a re-release occurred. So 94 it came out, 3rd edition. 98 it was re-released. I think in 03 it was re-released again, like a thinner box or something. And then it just trailed off. This is the first time that it is stuck around because GW, as we talked about, I think in the past episodes, GW 2.0, where the specialist games are actually pretty cool. They support it. There's a community. And this is the first time Blood Bowl stuck around at a store. My local game store, not a GW, has had Blood Bowl teams, like 3 or 4 different ones, all the cards. I bought the book there. It's pretty badass. You were never able to do that before. You'd like, well, this company in Italy makes teams, and this guy in Germany makes a board. It was tough. So, Xtreme, you mentioned about sticking with it. I think now is, outdated rules aside, now is the best chance of all to have somebody new stick with the game. Would you agree?
Nope.
No?
I think now is the best time for a bunch of people to jump into the game, but then they sit down and play, and that's what I'm talking about. Like getting people to make that purchase, sit down and play is easier than it's ever been before. But getting them to stay, like, all right, you finished a league, do you want to start another one? I think a lot of times that answer is going to be no. Like, well, that was fun, but
how do you think that is?
Well, that gets back to what you were talking about before. Is there's more competition now than there was in '94 for your time.
So we play a league or a series of one-off games, and I say, hey, friends, I made it at the store. You want to do a league? No, I'm getting into this Relic Blade game next week, so I don't know if I have time for it. Do you think that's part of it, the competition?
I think the age, how it feels its age, where people do it and all that was kind of neat. I don't know if I want to do it right away again. I think it's the age of the rule set and how it feels its age. And as well, there's so many other games out there.
If new guy gets to Xtreme's playing Dwarves, he feels especially ornery that day and decides to go full-on Xtreme, #1 ranked Dwarf player in 2010, that level Xtreme. Do you think that person sticks with it because he gets utterly destroyed?
Do they like it?
In
they wear the ball gag?
Xtreme would not bring his dwarves out against this person. So it's a fictional world already. But I do want to comment on you saying it's in stores and everything. That brings up, to bring it back around to my pros and cons, that's actually a con for me. I don't like, the models aren't really for my taste, but I do like them being accessible to people. So I think that's a pro. But I don't like GW's involvement and them putting their new GW spin on it with like cards being a big thing, which I know, you don't have to play that way, but then it creates this thing. What I really hate in all games is, all right, I have rules here, I have rules here, I have rules here, I have rules here, and you have to have a conversation before the game. What rules are we playing with? I can't stand that in any game. Like, I want a rule book. I don't want 5 rule books, a magazine article over here, another book over there. Which ones are we going to play with today? I hate that.
I have to agree with you. In 2016, before the new rules came out, I felt I knew almost every rule in the game. And now it's like they only change like 6 or 7 things, but they're in these different books. And
never forget that Games Workshop is a gigantic miniatures company.
Yes.
So they did it with Necromunda too, because I know I played in a campaign last year. Some of us in the campaign thought we were playing with some rules that others did not know we were playing with.
Yeah, well, it's like the tournament we did where everyone was playing a different set of rules.
It's exactly what it is. It was this guy, he finished in last place, and he goes, I didn't know we could buy armor. No one ever said it. The other guy goes, it's in the book. Like, yeah, but no one ever said. And he's like, why do I have to say it? And it was like, it was such a, I don't know, asinine kind of argument, but no conversation was said. To Xtreme's point earlier, a good commissioner or tournament organizer needs to be as black and white as possible. If we were all in a league, let's say we lived in the same area, played in a league, I would say, guys, I want to try to use everything. Let's try to use the cards. Let's try to use it all. And then at the end, we'll just evaluate it. But I'm going to make sure everybody knows we're doing it, that we all have copies of everything. We all have it and we're doing it. You have to make sure everyone's on the same page. And these games, to Xtreme's point, and I'll give you this as a point. I'm not going to say it's a con to be in stores. I won't go that far. To me, it's a pro in stores. But I will give you this, that it does lead people to have some of the stuff and not all the stuff, and others have all the stuff. And sometimes people don't talk. But that is the fault of the person running it to me.
My con wasn't that it was in stores. My con was GW's involvement with their modern way of doing things. And you said they're a miniature company, but a lot of the stuff they've done over the last 4 or 5 years has been awesome. It's definitely a great direction for them, but they're starting to get into being not just a miniature company, but a rule book and card company. They're making so much money off releasing packs of cards all the time. Yep. And the thing I loved about Blood Bowl for so long was we had a rule book.
Yeah. Everything
was there. And one of the other things that I forgot to mention that I really liked, and trying to pick apart and learn everything about the game, we had 24-ish races, and it was easy to know everything about all of them. Now you're throwing in other ones, changing rules just slightly, and in ways that don't matter either. Like, oh, this gutter runner has a new skill where he can step. He's never going to fucking do it. Like, you wasted my time learning that skill because it's never going to happen if you know what you're doing in this game.
Okay, those are all fair points from your perspective. The thing is, GW is doing exactly what you say. They're selling packs of cards, because they did it in Necromunda too. They have generics, and they have one specific for a faction. Well, you probably should buy all of them if you want all of them. I didn't buy all of them for Necromunda. Was I short a few? Yeah, there was some that some guys in the league got to use that were good that I couldn't use. I played on.
All you need is click. You're out of ammo.
Click is fantastic. And then if you're playing 2D, the one where the door closes on somebody is awesome. Like, oh, you sure want to stop there? I might have a card, and I never do. I just pretend I have.
Oh.
You want to stop in the doorway?
Scumbag card.
That was the old Blood Bowl, 3rd edition. I always would say, like, oh, I'm going to dodge. I'm like, did you say the word dodge? I would hold up a card. Did you say the word dodge? Yeah, you said you're dodging. And then
show me exactly where you're going. Exactly.
I'm going to stay here. I'm like, all right. And meanwhile, it was like bonus T-shirts after the game, merchandising. Xtreme, I get what you're saying with all of that. But you also said Blood Bowl should be goofy and crazy. You said 2nd edition models were fun and wacky, and I love that theme. New stuff that comes out in Blood Bowl,
that's not what I said.
Doesn't that fall under goofy and crazy?
That's not what I said. I said visually it was goofy and crazy. And the stuff that's coming out, it's not that it's goofy and crazy, it's that it's not tested, it's sloppy.
Oh, it's sloppy.
was
so locked in for so long that it just needed to be left alone.
So you want
completely scrapped and redone.
You want the best of both worlds. You want a 100% play-tested, clear, defined rule book, but also wacky stuff.
No, that's not. I never said I wanted wacky
you don't
stuff.
Want wacky models?
Visually,
the art style of wackiness.
You know what? I mean, this could last. We can do this for like 3 hours, or we can move on to Mike and let him talk for a while.
I'm also poking a little bit because I think it makes for a good show. I totally get what you're saying. And I'm not trying to get you heated up about it, but the involvement that GW has, to me, is more good than bad. It's not 100% good. Was it cool having a clear, defined rule book for all those years? Of course. As tournament organizers, of course, we love that. We knew every word in that rule book from start to finish. as things started to come aboard, what was it, like the quarantine? Was that like the first, like,
Quarantine,
weird,
yeah, and then the Bretonian.
well, it's in the video game. We're like, we're doing video games now? What the fuck? Quarantine. Everyone's like, what about Bretonians? That was never a thing. And then GW reclaimed it. Now, I'm very happy with this almanac. It's a very cool book. It's good fluff. Xtreme, you ran a tournament with the exact teams in this book. These were the official, like, teams. But there was something in there. Isn't there like a star player that has like a knife now that doesn't have a knife before, right?
That's the Gutter Runners.
No, Gutter Runner. Even worse. Not even a star player. Gutter Runner. So I am on board. I'm not disagreeing with that. It sucks they added those things in. My standpoint is the good outweighs the bad. I'm happy to see new models, new books, new pitches, new cards, because I like content for my games. And maybe that's weird because spending money isn't what everyone wants to do, but I actually like to buy new stuff and cool stuff. Other games do that, and I get to do it. Blood Bowl never had that. You want new things? Find a new team. Well, is there anything new about it? No, it's just a new team, new models. I kind of like new content. I like White Dwarf articles that have, hey, try this in your next game. See if you like it. I kind of like that. But I also don't care about tournaments and leagues anymore either. So maybe that's all part of it. I'm on the downward stretch. I'm not playing this game anymore. So I'm just reading shit.
Oh, you like the theory of the potential.
Mike, I'm reading this now. I'm not playing it. I'm reading it. And it's super fun to read. I just bought a new Necromunda book with the police dudes in it because I think they're cool models. I'm not playing with it. I'm gonna read that book though because they have these cool stories about the drug cartels in Necromunda and how they got in there and spies and shit. I don't care about the game of Blood Bowl anymore. So for me, I think it's cool there's stuff out there. If that makes my opinion worth a little less, that's fine. I don't mind. I'm still gonna get my Zlurpies in at the end of the show. But Xtreme, you still have a love for the game, and you still might go to a tournament or play in a league. So I totally get why you're a little more defensive about it. Totally valid. That's all I have to say on that. I wasn't trying to like piss you off, but I was trying to poke you a little bit to see where it's coming from. And you still think, I mean, are you still going to run? You were going to run a tournament next year for your birthday, right? Is that still a thing?
It was supposed to be this year, so no.
This year?
I'll blame it on something else.
You still have aspirations a little bit. I don't. That's probably why we also differ on this.
And I acknowledge that a lot of it too is that I had this level of understanding and now someone's bringing new crap in. And I get that, and I acknowledge that that's my fault. I should keep up with the times. But when you're trying to keep up with the times and you disagree with everything that's happening, it's hard.
Yeah. Where you say you are a conservative when it comes to Blood Bowl?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just Blood Bowl, but most of my sports too. Like baseball, I'm super like conservative.
I can't believe the designated hitter's a rule.
It drives me insane, but that's a topic for another time.
It's the best rule out there. But anyways,
okay, Mike, go ahead.
Right. Pros and cons.
I have to agree with Xtreme there. I hate the fact that, you know, this new pitch will come out for the new team and it's got pitch rules, and I'm never going to buy this $50 pitch because I have 12 pitches. But I feel like as someone who runs a tournament, I should know these rules so I can at least say, no, we're not doing them, but I understand it. But
you have to keep up, unfortunately, because you are in a position of running this.
Yeah, and it actually made me really respect people that run Age of Sigmar or 40K tournaments, because every fucking week there are new rules coming out for 40K, and I don't know how they keep up with it. I honestly don't.
White Dwarf articles, everyone has a real rule, like a legit real rule. Many people don't use them, but I mean, technically, that's new content, new rules every month. How would you ever keep up from a TO standpoint?
Yeah, I don't know, and I have the greatest respect, and I didn't realize how good we had it when it was a, 04 to 16, when it was the Ice Pelt rule book was
autopilot for the entire tournament.
Mike,
it was great. And
Interesting question. I want to throw out to you guys on that quick subject, not to totally interrupt, but I think it's a fun talking point real quick. Because the rules when we were in our prime of sorts were the same, do you feel that it let us create tournaments with all kinds of weird stuff? Because it's like, well, this is always the same.
Well, okay, that gets into a whole different ball of wax about how the U.S., the United States, wanted to do all this crazy shit. And meanwhile,
USA.
Meanwhile, over in Europe, they wanted everything to be the same.
Would there ever be a tournament in England where this guy's fucking allowed in the game?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Out in Brian's garage. That's why it's fucking allowed.
And then there was this paradigm shift where all of a sudden tournaments with tiering, humans get 4 skills, but, elves get 2 skills. That was the norm. And now they're doing all the arguments about how all our crazy American rules were breaking the NAF rankings, and now they're doing all this shit. Yeah, whatever. But
rankings were a joke to begin with. I mean,
and that whole topic was another one of the pieces that kind of pushed me out of the game. That topic, and then like the new GW releases, along with I just needed time to do other stuff. But those things shouldn't have pushed me out. That's why I think the main issue is just I needed to do other things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Getting back to our topic here, I will always love the game. I made some of the best friends I've ever had in my life through this game. I met my wife through this game, and for that I will always be grateful. I like running tournaments now more than actually playing in it. I mean, if you look at I play halflings in almost every tournament, and I do that to have fun because I know I'm probably not going to win, and when I do win, it's great.
And then you get nervous if you're trying too hard too.
Yeah, and as I said before, the one tournament, I mean, when I went to Underworld last year, that tournament build was not competitive. It was let's throw all the skills on the ogre. I was playing Underworld. It's throw all the skills on the Minotaur, the ogre, and the troll, and just just have those 3 guys just do shit, and if they die, they die. And I got lucky.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it. It really is. I remember an old Chaos Cup. I won my first. It was 3-2, so 3 games on day 1, 2 and game 2. Won my first 3 games. Tom Anders, before we went to go hang out at Hooters or something. He's like, "You're going to be on the top table tomorrow. You're number 1 seed." I was like, "Oh shit!" I couldn't sleep. That's all I could think about. And I lost my 2 games on Sunday. And I was like, "What the fuck? Like, why did I care so much?" I lost my 2 other games.
Katie did the same thing in the Chaos Cup. She won the first. It was still at the bunker. She won the first 3 games, and she was at the top table. She's like, "Don't talk to me for the rest of the night." And she didn't sleep. And meanwhile, I'm an odd man out. I've got no responsibilities. I'm having a great time.
Whoa, it's crazy. I really. My one regret. I love all the tournaments that we all went to, but my one regret is not taking more of them just in stride. I don't know why the thought was, well, I traveled and I bought a hotel, so I should really try to win. I mean, it's a tournament, right? Don't you want to win? But some of those, I should have just taken a step back.
Now, I will say, though, too, playing a team like Halflings that's not competitive, and I know you've got a whole thing on tiers and all teams should be equal, and they're not. But some of the best games I've ever played are when I actually sat down and said, okay, I'm going to actually play these well. And I beat Frank Bradford with Halflings. He was playing Chaos Dwarves. And that is still one of the most epic games. And I'm sorry, Frank, but that is still one of the most epic games I've ever played. Because the first thing I did is I shook his hand and I said, congratulations on your victory. Because you're Frank Bradford, that's enough. But you're Frank Bradford playing Chaos Dwarves, and I'm playing Halflings.
So, in retrospect, you were kind of a dick.
No, I fully expected him to win.
Congrats
I remember there was this crowd around us watching this, and at one time, Frank got so frustrated that he got up and left the game for like 3 minutes and had to come back, and he's like, okay. Because I think I had just blitzed with Deep Root. I had to dodge, and then, Well,
when Frank gets in the zone, you know it because he does this one thing, and I love this. he will say lyrics to Beck Loser in the game. He'll say, I'm getting crazy with the cheese whiz. He'll say all these lines from the song Loser. That's when I know he's in the zone. There's no joking around because he's like in this zone. And those guys, Vanderby has a zone too. Like, I don't have a zone. I'm trying to find one, but those guys get in the fucking zone. Xtreme, I think there's been times where you've been in a zone playing dwarves. There's been times where I'll be like, hey, we're making plans to go to dinner. I don't want to invite this guy, Xtreme. What do you think? Don't talk to me right now. Golden Joe has the ball. You'll just like admit that. You won't even say it. It'll just like come out your brain. I'll be, oh shit, I better leave him. You have a certain zone level.
I had an anecdote about the stresses of being at the top tables.
It's anecdote.
No, he has a way to cure a love for Blood Bowl.
I have a goddamn story. How about that?
Yeah, I'm just being a dick.
So growing up, my grandfather was a super good chess player. He beat Gary Kasparov once, the whole thing.
Holy shit. I didn't know you were Jewish.
Anyway, so he was like super high level. He used to play in tournaments and stuff. But by the time like I was
that's what you meant when you said your grandfather was a grandmaster. I thought it was something else.
Oh, jeez.
Man, that's 2. This guy's on a roll.
He's from Indiana, so that's 2.5. So
yeah. Biran,
Xtreme, my apologies. I apologize.
Biran is like Robin Williams when you can't turn him off.
No.
So
A.S. Elder. Yeah, go ahead.
By the time I was coming of age, he didn't play in tournaments anymore, and I always thought it was crazy because he was still playing chess all the time with his computers and things. And I asked him, I was like, why don't you play in tournaments anymore? Why don't you compete? He's like, I'm too old. I can't handle it anymore. And it never made any sense to me until I started playing Blood Bowl. And I got to the top table at the last round of the tournament. I was like stressed out like crazy. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, you can't do this when you're old because you will fucking die at the table when you're playing a game.
So true. It's
yeah.
It's I mean,
play like shit, live longer.
Yeah.
I give credit to all the people that we met these last 15 years playing tournaments that are still doing it. Like these guys like Saul that are still running them, traveling, doing it, going to World Cup. Huge credit to do it. I just can't. I'm over it. I don't want to shit on the game because I know what it meant to me in my life, but I'm done. So, I mean, Mike.
Again, you got to have the right. I don't go to these tournaments to win. I go to have fun.
So,
and
let me ask you, Mike, to get where you're at now. If Todd at Grognard Games, great store in the Chicagoland area, if you are so in the area, want to pick up something, said, Mike, I'm going to run a Blood Bowl league. You don't have to run it, but I do like you having you around as a veteran to rules. We're going to use everything, okay? Because I'm selling the shit, so I want to use everything. I got you down, right? Every Wednesday? Are you down, Mike? Every Wednesday?
Now I have a real problem. Well, yeah, I have kind of a problem just because of the time commitment of the game. But I mean, 15 years ago, yeah, I'd be totally down.
But now though,
because again, I leave for work. If this was normal, I would leave for work. I get up for work at 4:30 in the morning. I don't get home until 7, and then have to go and play fucking Blood Bowl and have to be done by 9.
Now it's fucking Blood Bowl. Okay.
Well, no, it's
somebody's angry.
It's because again, it's a 2.5-hour commitment. But one of the things I do love about playing in a store is you are on the clock. And
it's supposed to be. Some people are still slow as fuck. You're supposed to be on the clock.
But at least at the store, with the store league, you can kind of push the time clock aspect, which we didn't talk about. I'm a huge fan of the time clock.
Yeah, me too. There's something that, like, when one thing that drives Dean nuts all the time is, like, somebody will make an announcement at a tournament. Hey, there's an hour left. You should be halftime. He'll say, hey, we should speed it up. The other person's like, yeah. Dean will speed his up, and when the other person doesn't do it, and then he makes a bad mistake because he's playing fast, he's like, I'm like, yeah, that fucking sucks because you've sacrificed your thought process for the good of the tournament to speed it up, and that guy hasn't. I mean, it should have been like timers per side, but most of the time, no one ever does that. They say, the game's 2 hours. It's like, well, that's not my fault we couldn't finish. It's never my fault, but that tends to happen. So the timer thing's part of it too.
And one of the things I will add that has really added to my appreciation of the tournament scene is, again, the NAF website, as far as just tracking who you've played and your win-loss ratio with all the races and all. I love looking at those statistics. Like while Xtreme was talking, he has run 53 tournaments. You know, we know the dates and the times of all those tournaments. I can look at all the stats for all the races.
How many times have we played? You know, Mike's got 5 wins, I've got 3, and we got 3 ties.
Yeah, Xtreme's got a 58% win percentage. I've got a 49%. I love knowing those stats. So
I enjoy that, but we all take it with a grain of salt. Some people,
God, yeah.
Because
I don't care about the rankings and the math behind the rankings. I don't give a shit about that.
Because I know that, like, I played one tournament with Halflings, but it was a tournament that gave a shit ton of money. It was something with it, like a gimmick tournament. Yeah. I know my ranking is not a real ranking, but whatever. It's fun to look at, though, from a historical perspective.
And again, that gets back to the whole, the Europeans were shitting on the Americans because of our crazy tournament rules, and then all of a sudden they start doing all this tiering. Because I remember looking at the Underworld rankings, and there's people with 190 NAF rankings with Underworld. I'm like, how the fuck are they doing this? It's like, because Underworld are a tier 4 team and they're getting all these skills, and now they're just blowing up the rankings. And meanwhile, in the US, you can say this is good or bad, but we're having everything being equal. And as far as what the teams get, not the teams themselves.
That's a weird, like, flip-flop there, you know?
Yeah, it really is. And that early on, that pissed me off, and now I'm just like, I'm kind of over it. So another thing I wanted to add, switching gears, is I'm the person that sends out all the NAF rewards when you renew your NAF and whatever.
He's campaigning in the show, guys. He's fucking campaigning for another term.
There's no campaign. I just do it. Okay. I'm not appointed. I'm just, I haven't said I'm not going to do it anymore.
By default.
Mike, do you have buttons? Do you have buttons?
I will say the NAF, one of the detriment or one of the hard parts of getting into the game was there were no dice being made, and you need those special dice to play. And the NAF was like the only way to get Blood Bowl dice. But once GW started making Blood Bowl dice, even though they were over-designed and impossible to read, they were still out there, and that was allowing people to play. And I will say, as the person who sends out the NAF rewards, very few people want the block dice anymore because they have access to it. Whereas before,
I could match their team, or they've got the team matching colors from GW, so now they want a cool reroll marker or something.
Yeah. And so I appreciate that GW has that aspect. They're putting out the block dice, as shitty as I think they are.
What Mike is saying is
they're out there.
If you have rare NAF block dice at home, you missed the boat on selling them. You could have sold those black ones, maybe the blue ones, for a vital organ, and you blew it.
For the record, I gave your brother a set of black block dice, so because I'm a good guy.
Does he have them still, or did he sell them?
That's up to him, but yeah. In my mind, he's kept them. He's treasured them. You find out.
All right. Biran, with you in Blood Bowl, I know this will be quick. Where are we at now? League forming? Can I count you in, Biran?
No.
Okay.
I do have my pros and cons, though.
Okay, let's do it.
Pros. You play on a grid.
Yeah.
Side con, that grid looks like shit because it's just plus symbols on a grass field that are hard to see. Cool stuff happens sometimes. Even to me, I had a Croc score get an interception. Very proud of that. The complexity. I like that it is that's why I want to see something closer to Blood Bowl, but a little bit of Blitz Bowl in ease of use. Somewhere mid-tier between Blood Bowl and Blitz Bowl in complexity, I'd be pretty happy. And the new models I really like. Unlike Xtreme, who hates them, and everyone that likes them.
4 pros.
That's it for pros.
You got 4 pros.
Cons. every time I see someone playing the game, they look miserable. Without fail. Cons.
The extreme finger on the nose.
Yeah. Cons. NAF. NAF. Con. They take themselves too seriously.
Would you say that it is a con in itself?
Yes. Yes. Well, not for me because Mike gives me the rewards without actually signing up. Oops, I was unsupposed to say that. Cons for me, too competitive. Cons for me, calling a field a pitch. Cons for me, how long it takes to play the goddamn game. Big con for me, and not everyone does this, but enough do it, the dice slam.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
No, the dice slam. You know what I'm talking about, though. The wham! Yes. Yes. Even the meek-ass Sarlo does it. It drives me nuts.
There's something about, like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about, because people are weird with Nuffle, I'm due, like, the harder I slam it, I think it's going to do something.
It's one of the suspicions out there. It's like baseball players and they're hyper superstitious.
I agree.
Extreme for making me a sucker punch noise reduction, though. I do.
Yeah. It is not a newbie friendly game.
No.
The way I attribute it, and this is also from my own experience, is, and if you ever played video games, Call of Duty, for example, if you don't get in right when it comes out, new version and practice, if you wait like 6 months, then buy it and try to go online, you're going to get crumped. In this game, if you don't, you're going to get crumped. It is not forgiving. Rolling 1d6 and you get a 3 when you need a 4. No, it's your turn.
If you started a Blood Bowl league and they were all brand new, you'd be okay. But the odds of doing that are pretty
right.
Rare.
You basically have people with your level of experience, and then there's a huge drop off, and then newbies. There's not like a lot of.
No, you're right.
So that's what else did I have here? Nope, that's it. Oh, and they call the players call themselves coaches.
That's the one. I didn't know you were going to go. I thought you were going to go. Not everybody does it, but I hate it.
Yeah, coaches. There's something about that word coach that also bleeds over to other games that I hate. But I really don't like when they call themselves coaches. It's a little too LARPy for me.
Here's the thing.
Like do you call yourself in 40K a general?
I don't say that.
No, because you'd feel like an asshole if you did.
Well, because my general's on the field. It's a model.
Yeah.
I'm a player of a game. Here's the thing. I was a great coach at Bloodbowl 3. Look at how mint this thing is, by the way, after like 5 different moves.
And JP, are you a hoarder?
No, here's the thing. As Mike knows, I always will sell stuff. I put together a Blood Bowl folder with like a time capsule. I have shit in there from the 90s and new stuff. That's it. It's just because I knew this day would come. I knew this day would be, I don't want to play the game anymore, but it's like why I still have old baseball cards. I want something to open up and be like, remember the good old days. Mm-hmm. That's all. That's all it is. Look at this one. This is, when is this from? Old-timey roster, small one. Like, it's fun to have.
I go to a lot of Blood Bowl tournaments. I just don't play in them.
Yeah. I was thinking if there's a league, you're not going to join it, but you're going to show up every week.
Yep.
And you're going to sit down.
He will heckle.
Bars and
yeah, he will heckle. Let me say one thing. I didn't really say pros and cons. I'm not going to – they came out throughout anyway, but I want to say one thing. I want to ask Mike and Brian, or Xtreme and Valdric, secret identities. Mainly it's for the Bryans. After I got done playing the Blood Bowl game the other day, and after I got done with the last tournament.
And you slept on the couch.
I slept on the couch, right, of course. I was like, why have I never played Blood Bowl 7s? Because that seems like a version of Blood Bowl I would like. It's a smaller field. It's less turns. It's rerolls that probably aren't bought because they're double price. I would just say no rerolls at all. I would just say, fuck it. You get 6 turns. You get half the models. You get no rerolls. Let's play football. I've never played it. Have you guys played it? And if so, did you like it?
I played it a couple of times. I didn't like it because I think I didn't get it, and I think we were playing the kickoff rules wrong.
It's its own table. Essentially, it's a Blood Bowl.
And you're not, and because you don't have the line of scrimmage where you're matched up with someone, you're separated, and
Wait, you're not in the line of scrimmage together?
no, because you're separated. There's 3 or 4 squares. There's a center line, but you're
okay.
and well, we played that one time.
You did?
Remember?
No.
Yeah, it was at Grognard's. You were kind of on the sevens thing, so you were playing. I was playing orcs. You're playing humans, or the other. I forgot which way it was.
Oh, Mike, how do you know all this?
I remember it.
As the
It's this weird memory I have.
You have the best memory. You have the best memory of all of us, Mike.
He's
No,
a man of
I have
science.
the worst memory of all of us. Trust me.
There's no way.
We actually played sevens. But because I remember the first. Actually, I forgot about that when I was talking about this. But the first couple of times, I think we did the kickoff wrong because it's weird. Because if you get the ball first, you can't do the 3 blocks and the blitz. You only really get the blitz. But
Okay, interesting.
yeah, I think it's. I agree with you because it's faster and it has the less players, so there's less movement. The turns go faster, and it doesn't have the crazy bounce rules that street ball has.
Right. That street ball. I like street ball. It's a fun game. We didn't talk about it, but it's a variant out there.
Yeah.
On the street, it's like a thin little alley. The ball bounces like crazy. I would probably do away with that, but I think it's fun because you have less players and you're just. It seems quick. You score quick or you die quick.
And the ball bounces off the walls, which I think is cool. But yeah.
Xtreme?
I have a 3-part answer to your question. I have played Blood Bowl 7s. I do like it. I think it's cool. I developed my own kind of hybrid version, ELF.
Yeah,
Yes.
ELF, that was it.
And I have like 10 pitches if anybody wants any. But it was kind of a mix of Blood Bowl 7s and some Dread Bowl elements mixed into it. But I really liked that. What I always wanted, and if I had a gaming group like you guys have in Chicago, I would really push it, is Pub League 7s, where it was all humans, all human linemen, and you'd have 1 position player and no rerolls.
No rerolls is key.
Yeah.
I always thought that would be a blast. I played an email league when play by email was still a thing. That was a pub league.
Biran giving you some looks.
Oh. That's almost as bad as those people that play with the Othello board, travel boards.
Okay, well, good to know. Here's the thing. We're going to do a Blitz Bowl episode, and we're talking about that completely different game. We wanted to do this one first. I wanted to ask that one because it's sort of coming back a little bit, Mike, that we played it, but for some reason I thought it was still on the line. So I guess I don't really remember much of the rules, but it just, it's a long game, and I wish it was more fun to play a game of Blood Bowl. I wish the game itself was more fun because I've played 100 other games since I got balls deep into Blood Bowl years ago until now, and I'm like, fuck. This is outdated. This is not that fun of a game. Thankfully, all the extracurricular stuff, like all 24 teams and this and that and all the stuff, and meeting you guys, that like saved it essentially. Going to tournaments, I before we go to ratings, I do want to talk about. So, Biran's been to a couple travel tournaments. I don't think for Blood Bowl per se, but Chaos Cup, but not really traveling. But that's was so much fun doing stuff. I sent you guys a picture earlier I found from Xtreme running a Dwarf Death Roller Indy 500 track game at his house.
Oh, yeah, Death Roll Racing.
Space Ball with Space Marines and Gene Stealer instead of Blood Bowl in his garage. And we made just rules, and everyone's kind of just having fun. All these little side games and things we did, the hanging out, like without Blood Bowl, we wouldn't have had all that.
Yeah.
Could there have been another game at that time that did it? Maybe. When we see 40K players, a lot of them are like, yeah, I'm going to Adepticon to get wasted. That's not me. But I see what they mean. They do paint an army and try to win, but they're there to see their bros and hang out and do their thing. And I think Blood Bowl allowed us to do that. I don't know if I didn't start going to tournaments, I don't know what would have happened. I may have started, what other games were around, and War Machine came out as the first big competitor to 40K, I think. So it was like, I may have played those other games. Blood Bowl tournaments sort of saved me because I was getting a little tired of leagues. Some people wanted to keep their teams forever. I didn't want to do it. Tournaments saved me for playing Blood Bowl. But it was all the extra stuff. And I think that goes a long way. That's something that this game had for us that not many other games will ever have, that sort of thing.
Well, I agree. I think, again, I think we just had, everything was just working out. We had a great group of people, an active community in the Midwest, and we had really no problem traveling to Wisconsin, to Indiana, to Michigan.
Well, if us and then the 3 or 4 other core, whatever, Midwestern people, if we didn't run tournaments, I don't know if anybody would have. Chaos Cup still would have happened because Tom would have ran it, or the store, the bunker would have ran it. But if Xtreme didn't create Zlurpy Bowl and Stupor Bowl and these other ones that we've all kind of done and ran, like, I don't know. I'd like to think somebody else picked up the ball, but I don't know if it would have happened. So I'm kind of proud of, the mid 2000s until 2015-ish, and for Mike till now, because you haven't stopped really. But I'm proud of that because we ran events so everybody could have fun and also so we could have fun. And if we didn't do it, I don't know if it would have happened. It might have been Chaos Cup once a year. And that's all we see of each other. So that's kind of cool that we basically made our own interest and excitement and enjoyment, even when we weren't having the most fun times at a tournament in the games. We made sure that as a whole, we had fun. There's so many stories from the after parties and whatnot. So, Xtreme, anything else? I know you wanted to make sure we covered a lot of bases. We talked ad nauseum about everything. Are we ready to wrap it up?
I think so.
Yeah. So, Blood Bowl. This crazy ass game that, who would think that a pig's bladder being inflated would have led to friendships and marriages? Who would have thought? No one. The answer is no one. So that's kind of cool. As is customary, we will go from most experienced to least experienced. Biran is last, obviously, which means his vote means the least, because as we know, that last vote, there's no sway there. Because if you vote half, it's already been determined. You could have brought it down one. I think Mike probably has the most NAF games under his belt, then Brian, then me. Yeah. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we're going to go in that order. Mike?
I'll give it a 3. Again, it's half of that is fueled by nostalgia and just all the memories I've had, but I have, like you said, I've played over 600 NAF games. And so I've played all 26 teams.
26?
What?
I was told, sir.
Corn and Bretonians, pay attention.
The quarantine and the
Bretonians.
Bretonians, thank you.
Is there a Nippon Ninja team you play too?
Not yet. But there will be a Snotling team, so that's going to be 27.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I know. But those models are awesome, so I'll be picking up. But
is the Nurgle team, is that a new one, or is that just they did new models for it?
No, that's one of the 24.
Okay.
They just did new models.
I'm surprised at your ranking, Mike. I thought 3.5 or maybe 4 for you because you're still involved in the community.
But I'm also
a man of science and integrity.
I'm also bitter in some ways.
Well, he's probably thinking, just because I run it doesn't mean I want to play it.
Yeah, and also it's like every change they've made, I've bristled at it, and that's partially because I'm getting older and more rigid in my ways. But every change they've made, especially since like these pitch rules and the cards, they're official but they're not, and it adds more confusion and all these weird inducements that are they real, are they not? I don't know. So but again, it's a dated game. There's no short games. it's going to be an hour and a half. If you play a full game and you play it decently, the best you're going to get away with is an hour and a half. And sometimes it can be 4 hours. And yeah, so. And like you said, there's a lot of dick moves in it. And at least in a 40K game, like sometimes in a 40K game, you'll look at it and you're like, I have lost turn 1. And then it's just boo, 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 and then you're done. But it's grinding.
People shit on 40K, but there have been times where it's swung back and forth.
Yeah.
2 times on each side, back and forth.
Yeah.
Blood Bowl doesn't do that. Now, if you have a quick team, like a Wood Up, maybe, but I mean, try some bullshit. But if you're playing a like medium, whatever you want to call it, kind of a human or orc kind of like mid-level team or stronger, you kind of know where it's going kind of early on.
Oh, yeah. And there's a certain mentality behind that. But, like if you're playing a Wood Elf team, you're going to score in 2 turns. Right. And then you're –
stay alive.
Then it's stay alive, and it's only give them a blitz. And that's it. So
okay, fair rating. Xtreme.
This was more difficult than I wanted it to be, to give this a score. I think a lot of the things Mike said I agree with like when I went through my pros and cons. A lot of the things that have turned me away from the game, I recognize are my own issues, and I try to push that aside. And I really wanted to give this a higher rating, but I still think I'll probably be on the high end from everybody else. I'm going to give it a 4.
All right.
I really wanted to give it a 4.5, but
I
can't.
Shit. Biran just, like, he had half a boner and it just shrunk. It like went in. Now, real quick, Xtreme, again, ratings are not up for debates. Ratings are what they are. But I do want to know, Mike referenced all the new rules interfering into his ratings. I don't think you did. Is that you are being, it's going to sound, I'm not trying to insult you, but you're being like, I'm going to be ignorant to all the new stuff to keep it the way I remember it? Is that part of?
No, I mentioned that in my con list. That was one of my big cons, was GW's more recent involvement, which you said you loved everything that they did. And they did.
I just mean it in that to go from a 4 or even a 4 or 5, knowing that if you sign up to a league at your local store, and you might be in for some surprises. You're like, I didn't buy that issue of Spike magazine. I didn't know you can do that. And you're still cool with all that?
I mean, that went into bringing it from a 4.5 down to a 4.
Oh,
a big part of that was the new rules.
I'm going to say I like your score. I'm glad you did that, because there were people that kind of shit-talked you a little bit about quitting the game. And this should show them, hey, fuckheads, I don't mess around with numbers. I'm a stats man. Bam, bam. I don't fuck around. You gave it a 4. Could have been a 4 or 5, which would have been your highest ranking yet. And dare I say, trending, you are the one that trends lower on scores of the 4 of us, or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true so far.
So you're already the East German judge with a very tough job at scoring. Even with that, it almost hit 4.5. So everyone that says Xtreme doesn't love Blood Bowl, fuck you. You're wrong.
Is that your highest score, Brian? A 4, or have you given out a 4 before?
I've given out a 4 before.
Okay.
4.5 would have been my highest, but I can't do it.
Well, you gave Rumble Slam a 4, right?
I think I give out 2. I think I give Riot Quest a 4 as well.
Yeah.
I can't do it for sure because I'm using my phone.
Okay, fair enough. The stats man. Okay, fair enough. Over to me. I'm going to give it a 3. It is a 3 because Biran may say we can go lower than 1, but in my head it's 1 to 5. I'm going to go in the middle, and that's my middle, because after everything I talked about, all the memories, all the history, how could I possibly go lower than half? Like, to me, there's no way. So to me, 3 is, it's the floor, not the ceiling. You know what I mean? Because I can't go lower. Doesn't matter if I hate the game now and I never want to play again. Even if that's all true, because of the history and everything it's meant to me, I can't go lower than 3. But on the flip side, because I don't want to play it anytime in the near future, how could I go higher than a 3? I've looked at my ratings of the past. I've tried to have the mindset of anything higher than a 3 is a game that if any of you guys said, let's play right now. I'm at your house. I'm writing my stuff. Let's play now. Yes, I'll play now. To me, that's more than a 3. 3, 5, 4, 4, 5, 5. All of those are, if you prompted me to play, I'll play. 3 is where I stop that and say, I appreciate it for what it is, but no thank you, sir. I'm not going to play. It's me. Biran.
Biran, it's you.
Or Biran.
I'm giving it a 1.
Shocking.
Oh, shit. Why? You have to say why.
Why? Because every time I've played it, I've hated the experience. I would literally rather be working than playing this. I've had dysentery, and I had more fun dealing with that than playing Blood Bowl.
Fair enough. There's no stalling with dysentery either.
No, you can't even try. I do Kegels, and I can't try.
Kegels.
Hot brown squirts, can't stop them. This is the hot brown squirts of tabletop gaming.
So, Mike, who is a good friend, a friendly-ass grognard, and a friendly gamer, wants to run a Blood Bowl league at Grognard Games. It promises you'll have a fun time. Is it still a no?
Mike would know better than to ask.
I will agree with Biran there. I would actually forbid Biran from being in the league.
My misery would spread like COVID-19.
It would spread, and it would ruin it for the other people who honestly want to play. So I would forbid him from being in the league.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm not going to make Xtreme go to a Trump rally.
That's what Blood Bowl is to you, the equivalent on the other side of a Trump rally.
Yes.
We have a total score of 275.
8, 11 divided by 4 is like 2.6 something.
Yeah.
So 2.75 will be the score.
All right. Sure.
Mike, I didn't do it the real way. I just did it the logical way. I took the 2 extremes, no pun intended.
Ah!
Look at that. That's not even like Common Core right there. That's
We got to draw boxes and cancel them out.
That's just, I don't know. We did this episode for many reasons because, one, Blood Bowl is the historic reason why there is a Zlurpcast. People wanted it. We wanted to do it. It's out of the way. Now it's done. We're going to do a Blitz Bowl podcast next because that is, game derivative of Blood Bowl. But I'm glad we got this down. I hope we do more games that have some historical kind of relevancy with.
What is interesting historically is you three have a connection via Blood Bowl. I got introduced to the group via Dread Bowl, both sports football games.
Quick question. We met you through Todd, who now runs Grognard Games, formerly Crooked.
You met through Todd and Jose, I think.
And Jose as well. He would go, yeah. Did you show up for thinking there was a Blood Bowl league on day one, and we told you it was Dread Ball, or was that Todd? Somebody showed up.
I showed up for Dread Ball because I had
Somebody showed up with a Blood Bowl team. I think it might have been Todd. I got my old humans, from '88, and it was like, we're not playing that game. And somebody showed up. That was hilarious. That it was,
You just assume JP Game Store, some sort of sports game. It's got to be Blood Bowl.
Surely, I was told Sports Ball is going to be played. We are going to talk about Dread Ball in an episode. It's a fun game, and it's a sports game that we've all played and have history with, so that will be covered. Blitz Bowl will be covered very soon. But yeah, thanks for watching. And again, if you only watch for Blood Bowl because, Blood Bowl podcast told you to watch this one too, that's awesome. I'd still appreciate maybe do Zlurp on that shit.
There's the barefoot.
And definitely sign up to Zlurp Nation. We've got all kinds of extra videos, extra content, extreme doodles, all kinds of weird shit we put in there. And follow us on all forms of social media at Zlurpcast. Outside of that, that's it. For old time's sake, Biran, let's load it up.
Was that a 3 die? 4?
There's no dice.
I've got a bottle cap in there too.
Oh!
Zlurpcast! Brought to you by Nuffles. Bet you can't just roll a one.